Nis tá mí beag na Craig de cléthe dó sinna goibh lads chuige alla atá géirí an dara cléthe le cheannis a bhuachan in ag chuige mún agus áirte bhaint amachsach le cheannis amórach in ag chuige chonacht a thugló an lá in ag Lion in Singate cléthe. Kieran Donnelly an son banistóir alla agus fara go géir. Tam cinnte go raibh sé héin agus a chófortí John Cleary a fara ar a géit cléthe. Mua in ag chuige alla bio I Borcan Croke ag a hocht. Okay, so seo hyd na bon rialach mar sin atá á dástáil an sa agus go leor feice going in Singate lethe fianna se go bhfuil na rialacha seo go dtígan na himróí is tócha go point áirithe na rialacha seo agus mar a bhí árá in agad le beánaí níos luithe do réir mar a hen na cluichí ar raig na himróí níos mó a dahí ar na rialacha seo. Okay, so beidir fechamid siar ar raint amachtaí eile bhí going in Singate leis sin agus coman an pasisiar go dtín cúlbáire. Bhín cúlbáir simúil mar bhí ról beagáín athrathe an mar champaráidir an ról a bhí na gceite an ná.
Yeah, it's tóg an ról a bhíon cúlbáir ná ceiriúil a rudí an bhuiile síos agus beidir spás a cruthú. Agus sin ceantas na riala agus tóg nach féidir dul siar go dtí an cúlbáir. Seachas go bhfuil tú tíbhaistead an cearnach mar a bhfuil a feiscint an sin. So tá sé sin cearca leir mar tugann sé rabhdit rudí a eibreamach. Sa slí seo bhí sé an tíomh mí ceart an lína chuig am héidir. Tá sé dhéanamh iireacht a léir a rit rasna an lína, so bhí sé ggéirithe an rud ceart a dhéanamh níor hit sé amach. Ach seo an smíanamh ceart a buine leis an rial is tóca agus is tóca nuair bhí Jim Gavin a chuid bhí seo rinne seachtainna léir sé an tunnach ar bhíonn ag Niall Morgan deag ná sa glúiseachtaí seo. Ag chur past isteach ag éirí a dul isteach sa glúiseach go bhfuil tú an fear sa bhreis a cruthú. So níl mar a ggéire gacrad a stop just rudí a fiosú písa.
Yeah, agus Conor Gleeson bhí sé anna lárnach nuair a tháinig sé go dtín cúil mark agus bhí go leor cúil a going anna chuid scóranna. Okay, beidir go raibh an cléthe héin beagáí éon taobhach agus dachar léibhar géireacht an cléthe. Bhí Stefani Assan.
Bhí cinse is mór an trúa nach ró cinneal cléthe óíoch ceart a gine ach ní sin rá nach ró caiidean an ard peile a gceist agus mar luí tún sin leis an cúlbair ag teacht amach níl an arid sin le imrí ag teacht agus ag sinne le tuitimins an dí cíarna. So seo pás crothaí ag an cúlbaire be Jima ar Lion cai mé rá bhí go leor imrí tíomh hir den líthráid fiún ar a hanig sé teach a go rís eile tá buntáiste leis an cúlbair ag teacht amach ach an rud a haisman in an céad lá nó an céad cléthe dú na go bhfuil cúlbairíón nach bhfuil compordach ag teach có fada sin. Agus a dánar an ine leithir sa Stephen Cluxner nuia agus go bhfuil cúlbairí go haraíonn san darnach le seo feicimiid Niall Morgan ag teacht amach ach tá barnaíon mar luí tú míhall tá spáson agus tá luach ar leithanis leis an cúl is rud iontacha é ceara cúlína aimsú fahanne cúl.
Yeah, ar an túir brisin tú an lína sa seanna cléthe mas féidir sin rá tá lína eile go cartú brise. Sa cléthe sin tháinig mar tá lína sin briste tá spás agus sin an rud is bhfuil tuairt fuinmh de fórna dul agus an cúil aimsú.
All right, ceire cholín mar sin na ggur cúla nach ní don gur bhéid ná sé róthcha dó an cúlín an an dá cúlín a ein tú an ceann las mud an stúa ní dis go mar raibh sé chotucha do sin comá bhí skill das mar sin héin le feiscint an so.
Agus luair mar seo an áit bhfuil tú ag dul siar chun an seansa crothú taobh mud an stú an nu an sin. So níl tú dul isteach sa spás. Is tóca bhfuil áit an ispéidir go bhfuil an áit mí ceart le scóir a ghlacha sin idir an gádíos. So má tá tú tíbhaiste an sin tá tú gáil cúlín amháin beidir bhfuil tú an dul ará agus cúla aimsú. Ach beidir cá tú smíanamh camí teach siar chun an puinte gá scóir a aimsú. A rís tá tú sa spás tá tú faoi bhrú ag an level seo tú ceafa go bhfuil na imráí ábhata dhéanamh nuair a hitin tú síos na grád beidir bhfuil sin níos deachar an scóir go chéile aimsú. Tú mu ag immartáte ag an eile tíbhaiste Park an Croke sin an diffriú.
Sin é go dtíir a ceir lá mar sin sin deire leis sin géit lethe tróna connacht buachach an go go lein. Cad faoin dara cléthe mua agus alla lear brion tires leis na banistóirí níos luha.
There was that general consensus that a change was needed, you know, so tonight will tell a tale whether they will come in, but we do feel that the game will be made faster. The one thing you'll probably see tonight will be shape to the pitch with the three up, so there'll probably be a variation in the play with the kicking being an option as well, and look at you can carry if it's not on, so there'll be that in the solo and go, so the high-speed running will probably be a lot different from last year, so. But again, the proof will be in the pudding after tonight's two games.
All the rules there have their own very good merits, you know. Maybe the 50-metre penalty, and maybe particularly for managers give you out to refs mightn't be overall to the liking, but I think the solo and go would be very good, you know, and it'll quicken up the game, and teams won't be able to stop up the quick play going up the field. So I think all in all, as a group of rules, I think they're all very positive, really, you know.
There's a lot of positives tonight, like the solo and go is a good one, and the 3 up at times just gives you the option to kick the ball. So I do feel they're all positives. And the kick out, the fact that the keeper can get out to the 20-metre line, you know, he can take out 3 or 4 players. So the ball will transition faster, you know. So, and the fact that you can kick more than run, the ball will end up from one end of the pitch quicker as well. So I think they're all positives. The finer ones people will analyse tonight and see how the referee copes with it, and whether it makes the game more attractive.
You know, an awful lot of people just want to see what's going to go on here tonight, and I'd say managers and coaches now, just from here on in, that the planning will be put in place, and I think we'll be no different than that, and I think it's going to be a huge change, and there is huge space out there that normally you wouldn't see in a game, and normally the last couple of years in football you're looking down one side and all the players are inside the 45, and then it's laboriously brought up the field and you're looking at the same thing on the other side. Here tonight now, the one thing was the game was spread out, players up one side, and while the play was going down, you know, they were still up that side and couldn't do anything about defending the play, so much more open. But I suppose the real proof of any rules is when competition starts, when serious competition starts, and I think that's when we'll see whether these rules are successful or not.
I think there's a great appetite for the provincials back again. I think that was very evident with the Ulster players, that they were very keen to represent their province, and I suppose you combine that with the fact the new rules, it led to them an exciting challenge for them, so they're looking forward to it, and look, their response has been excellent.
Agus beag focail going in éis leis an réiteoir don dara cléthe Barry Tiernan. Just couple of moments, a few minutes from the start of the game. Are you excited and nervous? Because there's a lot for referees to take on board too, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no, look, excited to see it in action, I suppose, but I suppose a little bit nervous of the volume of new rules that are there for us to implement, but no, really looking forward to it, really looking forward to see how it looks.
And in terms of, say, the engagement with referees, because there was talks originally potentially about there being a second referee, that might be needed, but I understand that the refs themselves wanted to go with the one ref as is.
Yeah, I think for consistency across a whole game, you sort of need one referee to implement his particular style of refereeing on the game, and I think that's probably the best fit.
Well, Barry, when it comes to club games, for example, where the referees mightn't be as, let's say, fit, or I don't know, in terms of, say, the amount of work that a referee might have, would you say that when it comes into club in March, that it'll be trickier for refs?
Yeah, I think it depends on what rules come in March. I think that's the thing. There's an awful lot of new rules there. The 3-up rule probably is the most difficult to apply at club level, where at inter-county level you do have linesmen, you do have umpires keep an eye on things. At club level you don't really have that, so I think that's probably the one that would be the most difficult to implement at club level. But look, I suppose club referees are experienced enough through the years to be able to take on board new rules and implement them on club games.
And that 3-up, 3 back must be very difficult for a referee to know exactly who's in and who's out.
Yeah, well, I know from one of the trial games, the part I found difficult was getting calls from the line to say that there was maybe 2 people up and you're turning your back and you're just afraid that you might miss something that's ahead of you. I think that's the difficult part that would be at club level for the 3-up. But look, it's I suppose this is test tonight to see how it goes on at an inter-county game when we have the support around us, and hopefully it goes well, because looking forward to seeing how it looks in action.
We better not delay any longer. The best of luck, Barry. Gormagat. Carcalar mar sin na fórna nish, she's on Brian Tires.
Sé nach deas gohan réiteoir a chlosan son na himlóirí mar sin chamar bheith ge cúig mún dulchan parke Chris Kelly agus Sean Meehan and son Selina Lán Chúil taobh de Jimmy Feehan agus Selina Lachúil Tommy Walsh agus Matty Taylor Bert Chorcuich and son Ilárna parke captain the Fórna Diarmuid O'Connor agus Trúl Clárach and son teamplair i chéile Brian McNamara, Owen Cleary agus Emmett McMahon, James Naughton agus Danny Neville Lynn Chomacchiana agus Chris O'Jones and Lán Tasí taobh de Killian Spillane. For an analogue fá bearach go háire ainithe ag Cúige Ollinson, Niall Morgan sa chúl mar hampla, Baker agus McAvoy ó chúnta ghuiire, ach tá Curry Éireann go láidir an sochama, Paddy Burns agus captain na Fórna, Aidan Farker and son Selina Lachúil, Lárna Parkinile Grimney agus Oran Murdoch, agus an son Selina na house ag howlof ag amach Rian O'Neill agus Kieran Thompson, an na bhór in the rúnt don dá faointe, Las mud an stúa, 10 méadar nuas ag an aimse fé sin, agus Lash Dickinson, Oisín Connerty i gúin i bhain, Darren McCurry agus fear híráin ón McElhome sa chúine. Mar sin an chiad rairc ag muintir na tíre na rialacha nó na fewsa is doch op a chóra ó deartha fiscéint ságan tá hóna agus tá éman Fitzmaris takeí níos trébalum an sa agus mar dút fápéir éman tá cúige ola anna láidirach solid gurí mír chuige sol ní mí déon fléir chósaí beg árán na bhíonagainn dúis. Seagada in an tarna chluthe as chéadicín mar sin in néidir seachtaine na gúigíonn sa I barc a Chrócaig agus an réiteoirí bhí caimplinn níos túiscin son I lár na páirce agus na himreoirí a dul go dtí na húnaid éagsúlan is Barry Tiernan gan dát I bhfeil na feadóige agus éman mar bhíar agam cuma anna láidir chuig gola.
Tá brion gandá tá fern agus panéil an na láidirach agus I díra go mar an gúram de réir an seisiún tréála bhíocha de sahann se mecairn so be golóir le déana bheith cúig go mún a dhéarhin.
Se cúig go mún na gansathe gorma maras gannach mar sin bert a lár slí agus ní cadbhachtdóibh níon sin rasnú sulla me an fell san éir agus an cahanáir de búirtin son I ggéadí mar de canar do cúig go mún an fáic ábhar sciúrach cearcleor ach tá san hóna go hálainn gan fuchtá líadan sa agus láithreach se chun captaín ár bhachanis agus captaín ola leis éan Farker mar chnic mar sa chéad le tarach ar spás leistig. McElhome agus Darren McCurry sa lína lán tosig buchlaí híróin ag gas na holtaigh agus an cúlbáir Morgan Hanna Hennig take amach agus I géalamh na pelle. I leheile na páirce agus bhfuilteach scaoile féin soisteach a lár slí agus iad a brúisteach go deasan sa agus an ceansan seoltaisteachan san nach curtha chlé agus fóraíl.
Stocan rud a bhí sa léir sa céad lethe comá brion agus luigh cómané letham gúil chutas na imróirí fósáis dír ar an seanna crot a bhíocha ach chuigáil ar núnsaí an sátaréis an cicamach a bhóchant.
Tá siad láideach agus seo chun inisisiid na a bheith seo canarí na níim céad fan céad cinnte bhfuil na hibhreacha ceart nó crín ceart sin canarí bhíon san lech na himre a gluthe canis na haireann.
Bus níl dín ag fnacht leistigh go fóil agus fiúháin níl dín ag dul taobhír de Chris Kelly ó hebh cúigála an son.
Mar sin Chris Kelly ó Chorcaigh an sa agus gaf well ní sé gaf anadach amach a Joe lár na páirce agus anna gháil an son agus dianta go deasan san ag órán Murdoch an dúin agus tá siad leistigh an sa agus seans an sa ag Joe McElroy agus bhfuil féinte fachtan san ag tá go dain.
Tá cúig go mún féhrú ar a cicamach é nach síos tapaige Chris Kelly an uair seo agus bhé lo.
Mar sin se chuin Tommy Walsh fear cheann Turk anna chud spáisistigh tá Farker hir mar sa bhreis las mud an stú 10 méadar agus cimata go deasan son ón cléiríonn sonnaiste go bhí aus a gcuine chéirí chomach an dát an son a gréibh na mún an líana.
Rud céanann sa an isbrion níl mórán dína leistigh don cic tá dína anna chuid scape timpeall mór himpeall an stúa.
Mar sin an féine goil seanna haígann féin drása a léirúach Danny Neville limní Robert Spáis an sa fachtar náis ige Neville. Túir sé fé scóracha blokáilta go díal san ige Farker. Macha drón taobh lín agus bhfuil sunk sa drám an san. Ceapas haine greibh. Ní hé sin a seo Daniel Guinness in ish. Council an áir de Sanair agus Picacadóca chun muoine ché sin agus é adal leis ige Matty Taylor. Taylor dunas fear ar a bhrethún sí sa tír. Council búltisteach agus búlti idir bhearna an san núisteach sa bhearna be cearta rá. Chris Og Jones an san istig. Council mé machar se dóibh líne. Sin tíú mat ghuileanú mar sin caiitinsa. Seolta seachsalína lán tosig búltisteach ige Connery. Díanta go deasansa agus Darren McCurry in ish. An chitóig a bheith a tastáileúig tá sí fachtaige agus tá scór leis. Fachtaige Darren McCurry.
Is tócha sin an buntáiste den trúr sús an son a bhríon bhí deisiacha an cad a chur go tapaigh agus
Inside this arc, lad, was being kicked out. We said be 30 for the ball.
Ní ráidir imethe.
They're allowed in the other arc. Between the two arcs, they're allowed. You have to be 30 metres away from the ball still when this kicks me. No, they could be standing over there, but not here. Still has to be 30 away, all right?
Chris Kelly, ceistú an réitóra.
It's a free now for that one, isn't it?
Well, yeah, man. Bhíon pointe fachtaige.
Hold on.
Bhí dína leistigh den rád nó nílinn cartaige an son tá batún déantaige an son. Is féidir leis na himróí a bheith fós a stig ach há sé anna cruúigh sais a bheith brethir díreach ar an nimime a bhí sé. Is socha an ceallsúnach atá taobh den rial sin an cicamach a bhrostú díreach mar dhéon Chris Kelly an son.
Agus Kieran Thompson lechaína bhige ferchún an áil ar chúl an son. Ach níl sí gan locht agus déanana go chéine botún.
Tá mí go léirigh dul a daithí ar agus tóga sé tamaileoirín ar fad. Ach mar a dúirs an scór fuair McCurry an son, bhí an crotachá imeacht chun cín go tappaigh agus cág sé sin go mór le ola an son.
Is sin Council gafa go deas an son huas aige Owen Cleary. A rís gan aon bhíliartha, fel seoltasteach sa chúine, puite go deas aige Chris Og Jones a gimid go díal ar fad le híomh léire sa chréibh a gorcaigh fé láthair. Diarmaid O'Connor. Seoltasteach an son goíon géirí a chaile. Spillane. Mar sin trúr hir aige cúige mún, mar is ceart agus an cúlbáire ina deanta. Seoltasteach an son agus tarach ar spás an socht tá sé sin lag má mar éocht aige Emmett McMahon.
Bhí an deiscrotha an a bheithacha ach a rís is tócha léiríonn sé nuair hantu cosint le haon díag cé go mín go leorimhreacha siar tá spás ann nach míon ann nuair han cethardíag siar gan dás cicamach úntaach an son am organ.
Bhainne chuir cúige mún an tosaí leistigh na lína 5 méadar ar a gicamach an son. Tá híos tócha. Fachtan sánis agus ordan mort agus stoile me gháil chun tosaigh agus leanach orn. Pointe eile fachta an cearú ceann.
Agus is tólam sin ceantas na rudaí thucaí go as na rialacha seo díreach mar íon Morgan an son brian go méid cicamach tapaigh ann ach cicamach fada a bheith mar an cicamach tapaigh agus crothó sé deisinar an taobh eile.
Mar sin na Council búte a lár parc aige cúige mún. Cúigur fáca hir fé láthair de cup. Ach Bertin is sodar a drón taobh lína Diarmaid O'Connor sin ceann anías isteach mar a bhfuiln spás aige Cillian Spillane agus tá chéad ceann fachta na céirí a cóibriú go deas.
Das an stíl sin éiscint cicamach tapaigh Diarmaid O'Connor an son chur cad das isteach go dtí Cillian Spillane rís an crothacha é sin dhéanamh agus mar a derm scór das ó Cillian an son.
Nís tá glúna ag na chimillte gé ní sé chéad fan géidir a chumpórt Cillian Spillane.
Dúir sé sais bulas a Achilles an son brian so seans me sé áráis.
Dar ó bríl gafa suas ar nún sí. Agus seachún níis Council seoltasteach aige Connery. Joe McElhone. Níoch Darren McCurry me leis céal. Ebre siúr go fadle Owen McElhone an socha. Ach sin cimát ar bhada aige ar sa Barry Tiernan agus láideach corc ar Cúige mún.
Son, yeah, an bha hoog sé an prab cuise agus a raig leis an son bhí sé das é eiscint.
Well, you're a son of Vadon Spruck, Tashi the dear Chris Og Jones of Wintermach and son.
So is so can ruddy in Jimmy Feehan and son Brian Shin Dírach an fel súnach tá leistig den solo an go an son gur hoog sé go tapig é raig leis agus bhí sé ná an frihún sí tapig í anamh.
Marsin an Chiacamach Boortje ag Cúige Olle. Seachnium Cladol, Sichiad Chaharú. Stachel Arsley, Diarmid Baker, agus an Council Gaffach an Tosig ag Connerty. Agus é Gemacht leis. Agus é Diana Vistachar a gúil go dain féinnig agus tá sé gaffa trast an chúil ní siad cinnte.
Stolen gribh sé fórí.
Wide ball, yeah.
Connerty díra go rá ach bhí náidir an lábhachar an náirte go méidir gur pointe bhí ann.
Bring it forward.
Sin é chuig go méidir inis sin cíimiad an scú an íireach nadidir faoin íireach sin Brian. Béidir gribh sé thar an trasán, but Connerty ar an slí amach an son hiúil sé trasna ar Chris Kelly agus tu sin tá kictóga macadí leislí chuig go méidir.
Se bhí áras ar John Cleary féin bí nó son de luach sin ar bhíon bainisteoirí agus lucht an taobh líine a clabaireacht ach bhí me go gáire agus é ará. Trust an sugarí Walsh. Diarmid O'Connor chuir bhd an bell a dhiiscint i gceisiúd. An fel sa tarna chluithe se begáin níos a hóiste beidir ná mar a bhí sa chiad chluithe. Is mar sin tócann ige Owen Cleary. Agus íirecht ar scórach a ríist a Vadon Spruck ó heh Feidenson.
Agus seo samt ar ríist an bádóir nar hitan sé garad is féidir leis tacht amach mar sin ach gan dát má thugann sé dá duine dá ggólacha ní féidir leis an pasáil ar sin le héin.
Dar a bhfuil ceann áir stechan son agus é cosanta go an son a stig. Cúige mún a sacr síos réidir chéile trí faointach an deirg. Matty Taylor agus sin pas dasach Farhaul Chris Og Jones. As mud an lína cúig bhéidir a stahad agus tá siad fós a tiúlan son Matty Taylor ríist a gháil stechan son ach ceann eile bhfuil san titim garid agus tá si bh díreach gimach beidir ómíocht fest a cín áda sin.
Sin díreach é sin é maithe an lánta sí fanta stig gur féad leis dul an nóíocht le lehéadí margan an son ar titan sé gara ach níor hála sé an son.
Rian O'Neill mar sin.
So go gúil sé saléir leis Brian ceantas an rodí bhíh testáiltó daoine ná cuiblint héan an aige héan agus tá sé sinnig tarlú níos minicí fiúáin sa céad denómat an sa ná mar a tharlíonn sé de gnáfuí láthair.
Niall Morgan take amach cho fada leis an líne leislí. An an swinging sunnistig a Cosint O'Neill a réisteach.
Morganach an solo an ggótóg aige an son bus níor dhéana nu agus tan cad fós acha.
Mis an fearbhí chun tosig an sun seanna chun talúnach díanta go mar ag Cleary.
Ana bh tóg aige an son agus raig leis.
It's a note in 10.
Mis an tamlínoch nicmar ein scór an sa.
Rí sin an crotha sa caintear an son Brian ní léana stige cúig go mún. Níl siad éimethe daithí ar an rud sin go fóil.
Ná cail na cuairlí agus tá cúpla ceann fion go Matty Taylor son an trosan.
Béidir de réir mar é bríonn sé amach go ceann fadar rí sig tachtó Morgan an sa.
Anna cheann ar Fadenson agus an nádas na fracha go háling ar Fadenson le Ciarán Thompson. A ríis gan an bhfuil ar pasáilta leistigh de Rian O'Neill bhí sanna gceistige. Fachtaige Darragh Bíl. Buachlí rún an gáil. Sní go deasta chéile O'Neill inis ar nós comilium agus peint annas.
Anna bh cad díreach cicamach úntaach ag Morgan, Anna gháil ag Ciarán Thompson an son, pass tapig a ríis bhí dína chun tosaigh ar go raibh sé an an pass a thuairt agus Rian O'Neill an son críocht das.
Se mean an spás leistigh gan dat an cinenne tapig sa trí an láir. Agus an fel a churisteach a bhadéir níos tapúla. Trasna atá Diarmid O'Connor gafa. Dínta go an son agus fachtaige Alan Sweeney a bhí fanú mar lán cholaí tamlín bhí hin. Gan dat cad agus do bainisteoirí daoine thuirteach mar a scá agus Cillian Spillane a ríist níl siad ú annach réinhuis.
Níl Féice có tapig sa tá Morgan amach ar ís an Sovereign golóir rán ar heh clé ige tánig cín garad fós ann mar há son go háirtha nuair a chuig go mún coolla his siar ach fós deisiá dul chun tosaigh go rééisúnta tapig.
Agus gan dat an cat chun ceann tapig a thug ní gádáibh nó an glannig fnach an glannig a chéin an lína 5 méadar.
Sinné díracha. Chun sé únarm nach bhfuil éon ceantas na tosathe tar éis fanacht leis tír den éon ceantas na bádóirí go fóil ach dígar ní seans go chríola é sin.
Ní te sa DNA go fóla ach cúnmh dé beg. Nis fiochail Niall Morgan agus sin pass gleach hí sé eile na parke. Nis se gnéile hatin ón goiste go meachtainine tút féna chéile duine rinach seachún chuig geol agus tá se do chuoine bhar choúlach be se sásta dar ó bíl le cúlín an son.
Agus sin buntáiste an dat le Niall Morgan ar a hagann sé chun cín mar sin. Ní hé go raibh duine sa bhreiseacha ach just dairig lo anáis an overlap a chruthú.
Anna ceann gafaige Ciarán Thompson san éir. Takeíoch leistigh an sothige Daniel Guinness. Nis tá rathaí gafa leistigh ní tugach an pass ó sin Canada bhí i gceist an son. Ber tuas aige chuig go mún an tríú in búilte ar lína leislí sin é cléirí sé seo Aidan Farker agus tá son búilte chléigs ar fóríige. Nis ní léinge fanachta sig fós éman.
Níl nó, níl.
Agus go déin féin tá an stúa agus an tachar san talún bánathe chomá. Leis seachún Tommy Walsh, cos céim Deslet Evenson, O'Neill Currachóig agus seachún Taylor. Nis rána ón dátheh an pastor gan hapagan sanna goí Danny Neville. Tá siad leistigh an stúa inis ach is má ann an peinte agus peinte an bhrá ar fad an son.
Pointáni agus is tócan leis an ceann sin ní hé go raibh arthú an cad kicáil chun tosaigh is féidir leis dul agus an cad rithe go má díreach mar dhéanaidir an son agus tibric sé anna bheith scór snasta deasacha.
Mehmet McMahon, sa chásal san Sandbach Games éman a raibh daoine techt amach chun túirt féin dá féinte.
Bhí
Se tá an bunán búiltin son agus tá an chiad cheathrú curadíine gúinn sa agus well a scír hen den líróid fachtagus na muoine cearcolóireach tá siad begáin mí chrín Seán Meehan an son breúla meas na gúlathe agus le héadí Niall Grimley go má sa tríon láilen sanach tá na pointí fachtaige buachlí chuige óla ceann ag chéiríonn splean an chiad ceann in éir an son de chuige múnach mar bhí ágam híidir mí chrín go má. Agus kann het gilligan sin gnéile bíon daine os go chéan chunta a choú sa chásta le bainisteoir chuig geola síos chuút bhíl.
Se tá dara clethe difriúil, aníomhriúil an gé clethe, isn't it? I mean, Ryan, it's a lot more maybe the style of football that we would have been used to under the old rules.
Yeah, it probably is. You know, I do think there is a lot more kicking in the game. Definitely is. I think all teams, you know, the first game and at the start of this game, there's definitely a lot more kicking. But to be honest with you, coming here tonight, I thought I was going to see a completely different game. So I did, but I definitely haven't seen that. It's not as big a changes as I thought anyway, and I think a lot of people thought coming here. But I think the keepers are very, very important in terms of the kickouts. I think Niall Morgan has put on a show here, to be fair to him, in terms of kicking the kickouts over the top. So he is. Where in the first game, I think both teams struggled to get out over the press, and you can't get away that short anymore because you have to kick it outside the arc. So I think keepers that can actually bang the ball very, very long are going to be extremely important.
Eamon made the point to us before the game and in his commentary there about the absence of a big man on the edge of the square, that he thinks that could be very effective. I mean, I suppose the teams gradually will try different things and maybe come on that plan.
Yeah, they will, exactly. Listen, it's only the first night, to be fair. You know, there's loads of rules that we probably haven't seen. You know, if you even take the cynical fouling, which probably will be in the games a lot more in competitive games, we haven't seen a lot of it out here, unfortunately. You know, which is normal because you know it's a challenge match at the end of the day. So it is. So definitely the big man at the edge square. Yeah, I don't think we've seen a mark tonight, have we? You know, a ball in, maybe one or two max. We haven't. So. As I said, there's a lot of rules that we haven't seen enforced yet, so we haven't. But I am looking for. I am happy with the way it's going. You know, unfortunately, the first game, you know, it got away from Leinster, so that I don't think that will actually work, because I don't think the scores are working, the 4 points for a goal and the 2 points. Because of that, I think games will get away from teams far too early, which makes it a non-contest too
So would
early.
you bring it back to the normal 3 points for a goal and keep it at 1 point irrespective?
Yeah, that's what I would do personally. You know, I know.
Aidan O'Shea said the same thing.
Yeah,
at the
that's.
end of the game.
I think it's the stronger teams against. If you want to see the weaker teams, the games are going to be over after 10 minutes. You know, I think it'll be massive in club football, that especially. I think games could be over after 10 minutes.
Okay, Gurmagad Ryan, the Rashgrove Shilat Savoska.
Shatuli mi Simeolan son, agus Charlie Og Burns, agus na Maddie Krisha and son again, a Ternov, Tashin so. Eamon, Kadia Fadishin get Kaharushin.
No, bhí sé ó míoch go maith sóca a bhríon. Agus look, an rud leis agus is dólam gur luigh des I dólan ag deire an céad cléthe an son. Cléthe ná dúrtha cadde tá ann. Agus gan dát in ocht agus an deire seachtainna seo ha mí díirithe na fiawsa ha míad ag mulla agus na hathara ach ag gnám céanna sóca gná cléthe cadde tá míad de fiachantar.
Shadíirecht de Lawson an dá bhuion bhainisteochta gan dátá Raymond Galligan an chováin Ron O'Neill agus Ciarán Mino Hiróin agus Conla Gilligan chuide Carúla Kieran Danley bhainisteoir chuig Ola agus Marsin mar a chin chipansa Niall Grimley take go dtíon Dave Líne Cattisteach Marsin agus an umíoch gan éonraíon de chalais Siarnsa go dtí Aidan Farker. Sholta Stachanson, Bristol le Buchten and so agus Berhamore, Jimmy Fian and son agus Tan Counson, Sholta Harris dressed on and get Owen McElhone.
Yeah, Imroor Maho go to your own agus das Eshkint and so knocked Cad Dírach a Shako o Aidan Farker, das Eshkint to reach agus Croheen Chef Ibn Shake Dírach Mara Harlan son.
Imroor Yard Goma a pass all Farker Erginica, Pesha Sudan a hostilation spas Pesha Lashtig.
Beg agus Guldina contosig con an pass a stúr in a robbery and a soca Sharrod Moore coma.
Nish put to Sheernsa, agus Oran Murdoch, Nish Martian, Tishigan Morgan Bader, Tasha Afrapoil Heinig, Tasha Shin, go Holland Erfat.
Shin, yeah, Shin Arouse, agus Shin Enrod is soca Leshan Real Shot, Gur Fader Leshan Bodor, Lehedi Niall Morgan, Tact contosig. Agus Curlesh Unsi agus an son nor hantu ach hummus Radhi Marshinian agus an Gofuinte of Intamach.
Chat and count Fishke Tron again. Holstig Shlina Hele Pegani Nisavar, talk a Gadasiga Darren McCurry.
Go on.
Kegraf she Prabbe again, Eelach on the Broig again. Rian O'Neill and Vroig Tarika Trasna the Bell and Trustin again. Skirafacht get Candy Tasha the Stigan Sarist. Shanson saw again John McElroy. Agus tá pointe fachta ge siút.
Pointe Rish Cad Dírach tá Aidan Farker a gimmer to rouse ar fad Brian Hashe in lár gacrod ag bochant kicking amach kickall contosig stúra gacrod agus Rish Curshe and Cad Chinnistach agus score das and son a stiggy Cuigola Cahig Cuigamoon Grimalter and Cad Shohanish o Josh Ryan.
Martin Scholt the father ge exession Dienta Dírach and son Gahal and father ge Dermot O'Connor. Rish gan ein Wheeler, Bert, Focus Stigan Sonach vi Tarakar Chosantori Leshan. Kieran Thompson amach Joe and Tevlini, Rian O'Neill, Stachsach le an the Vor Chomanish de Tamalin. Pult Council Matara Hongerton Tevlini. The Rain Q kind Kavietach Klehe and Achto Ernana Hapigus. Rumpo the first hit a feint against the Haltics at Tarmala.
It's okay, but I mean, it's a lot of Nuvan mind to coop the body or 3 feintes Federation Clayamach to get happy come Brian August. 10 rod Leshna mind to body her Nash to look her feinter shin, but take him and pointed her a yen of a grind and son come on.
There are Wheel. Johnson got for Harris.
Go on.
Agus Agan saw again Emmett McMahon. Council of Wuchtent. Tommy Walshinish. He don't go to Enrak the Tig Morley Force and saw at the bark big doing the Tach Stachsamach in an Esther Chris Jones. Sheerden saw Tassa Lashtig then Stu Achas Point to Mahe Rohanson and get Dara Brennan Heberdaran.
Yeah, on the score, Ibrahim Gomai, Cuigamoon, Susan Gorton son, agus Anna Creac Darren son again Nera. Sin sais the limiter, the rare mar hen and rather I get stolen go make Banistori ra Mahantu last modern sto go huntuk togan pointe, but Mahantu just dear clash take better abru idro and bode nu makagor and go pointe.
Kieran Thompson reached Cat took at the suit tacht Anna the Huntasig. Short the Stachan son of Prabba, Dakrachti again McCurry Lisha Gownson, Matty Taylor. Buntasha Hurtigan Ray toward the
Okay, don't over.
Shachuna Machnamini Ganesh, Colm O'Callaghan, Ed House Alarna Park at the Horquig, and Lena Arish took a Tasha the Gabriel and Sashtach Owen clear Yanish. Callaghan Harish, Shachs a Spas, I guess Obervanson, Aiden Farker, Savannah Boyle.
Yeah, vi in Talish, just vi in Paso, Colm O'Callaghan, just begoning Garrett, vi in Rod Carter, Bunage, just Dirk Maria, just begoning Garrett.
Darren McCurry, Inge Varna Lashtig, the Nina Coig Vedra Stadenish, Ege Coig Ola, Martian Rashid Clihana. Burta Traston Sunage Owen McElhome, Thompson, O'Neill, Nish Martian, Agase, well, Visha Cartenson, Ege Joe McElhome, Brett Egaunson, Lefirne.
Simul Commander and Wheelin and Unsi being Morganer and Schlee and Tomer Fatashe, Rishir, Gotapig and Ishbrian.
Cha, Churich, Paddy Collin, Vient to Hinnigreen of it. Nish Toka Gotapig and Sonagase, well, and Retor, a Royal Tachter Nash.
Ulster free. Munster only had 3 inside. Or sorry, hadn't got 3 inside, at least 3 inside. Back down here, 20-metre free to Ulster.
Nish Nichel Sachlahishaw Gavistum.
No.
Kirkirch and Real Shin.
Comes out and meets the ball, lads, all right?
Nirav through here.
Yeah, Nirav Shetoko Fenarago, Mac Barry Tiernan and Pointer.
Run down now.
Visha Samuel Durche, Bergaman, where Linacher Noel the Hep of Maru Pinche round, Bergkaila Sherda
Hard to get.
Ulster free from the 20, all right? He's only had 2 players inside their own half that time when he's come out, all right?
Anna Toka Fenaraga, Visha. Mayor Tevlina Tahi so Sargor Nilisugum K Town, Brian Bush.
Hold on 1 second, just sub coming in, all right?
Vider Gohiligus Gohumla on the Garten Son.
Sorry?
Agustar Rare and Fel Glushta Hankeen and so Gdinina Fehmeder.
So it's Toka Norhan to him a trans and Lina Tree Himpish contactor and God being in kicks here, Aaron Buinta Lashley and Son, Akner Hashi Dienta Den Gnomer Shen. Shane, he's Gideon Lena Fehmeder, Mara Harlan son.
Martian Kuigola, the Gimertan of our father Lauren, the Horde, Agus Belenun's bride, and then night, the Huigamoon and son. Shahun Initiate, Jeremy O'Connor, Bob Dasport and son again, Connerty. Satta Martin, our hook chef, Vegas, Nether Shek, Kalchet, Olin Sahastolium. Feel Hitcheder Rostol.
Shindir K, Deshiga, Las Mudden Stuan, Irok into Hogan Tuck Son Hog Shane Immertel Agus, Rishesh Tax the Trocht.
Joe McElroy. Both the Stachan son again shoot, at Fachten Inishige Grimley, and Gula Token who took and son again, Agus and Pain to Clara.
Yeah, Takuigola, a Gimmer Terraus or Fad, Vrian Tashid, a Frihun Sea, Gotapig, Gakrod Kreenaka. Come on, Achli or her.
Yeah. Just hand it back to him, all right? Sorry?
Josh Ryan, Martian Rish, Ganane, Faka, who's I guess the whole thing, Eddie Kikamach. Rudder Alien, Crinnis on Gould Border, Mas, Veldadina, Lashtig, the Lina Fehmeder, Gandout, Tussahe.
Staff Farker, Kulu, Sheer and Tomer Fadig, Tort Arid and D and Son.
Chris Og Jones in ish. Sean O'D, Mehachan Keener, Agus O'D, Stigel Orsley, Destensa, Erhul, Agus Tarkul, Fachten Son, Ege, Sean O'D, the Huigamoon, Agus Gear Gailishwish.
Agus Shinnon Loch and Carafuinte, Agus, and Chris O. Jones, a Hogan pass the shot, Shinne pass Unta Creen, Agus Vineder Amachan Sprock, Agus Cool Unta Conson, Agus Murdurish, Brian Vishay Tastalto and Cleha, Agus. Actually, Hitche so Morgan and Son Diary Glesh Sean Welch Acres of Ode. Ode the Portlarga Park and Croke Vrian.
Shawochel. Nashkel Capscavere Divion. Ach ar y lyd yn is cwngwyn son yn ddarna. Cwcyn atra yn is. Morgan y tacht y reist.
Sinna Colós y mwylin sé síos yn eachar bín Sharon Schley.
McElhome anna gloch ar fad. Sach le gadisha ta Barry Tiernan anna yin en y Chris Cayman.
Agus Shinrod atá na háchtach brian dus na rialach an nú so mar anna cuid ha si de dro an únsa hór nó an tosí agus an rud an tain sais cosint atá cosintóir ná gohfuil na Cayman a díanta gartig na réitóí so sin anna bhá Tiernan an son.
Count Desiga, Jimmy O'Connor, Chris O'Jones and ish. Agus Eligir Galorach Shin Painter Anna Vra. Fachtig Ferry Vlare.
Yeah, is stolam ví a kaintleis agin sesiún trenála de March McCarran na Mallow agus ví a ráleis go nirig an crut sin an trúr sús anna bhór dá mar tá cosa úntaach aige bín boga úntaach aige agus scór úntaach ó Chris O'Jones an son agus lehéadí tosí mar sin irig na rodí sin dá.
22, yeah.
Well, you don't go in the Gorto Curtinish and son air.
Yeah, yellow. What number going off there, James?
Noel Morgan. Tá an tarna duine de chlánnaí éil ó sin an sa chomaciana.
Agus an clog stoppa an son leis brian an stop clock agus tá sé stoppa in ish chun na hunna de ligin tisteach agus caur a bathe sin comadus na réitóí.
23 Ulster, lads. Yeah. Give 23 Ulster a shout there, lads.
Mitchin Racha go leor le díana fós again réitóir ach dála go chain eile is it dul dahíir tréir chéile Mark Bradley.
So cean samúl brian Mark Bradley ní raibh sé le tírón in irig ar eis le cúigála mlíana so beidir go méid sé le tírón den bblion se chuan an imróir is sé Mark.
Okay, lads, time back on.
Mar sin díirich feh an sénum godul go lehama an sa.
Samúl hena féin na tacticí ar an kickamat le feiscint an son bhí cúigála taringtarsteach cóngrúchlin na céile agus brise amach agus dairig lá ceann gara a chur amach so fós beag na tacticí tachan cín cuma faoin stú agus an kick-out tapig cuma.
Nis ní fear seo Ciarán Thompson rágfa anna éonar rochóngracht an stú 10 méadar sin agus ní a bhein bhílar Jimmy Fina dul amach ige tá Morgan chúine ríist. Darren McCurry. Díirich leistig agus tá sé sin díirich las mó.
Ball, yeah.
Mar derm sinné an ceanna chuig banistóí deire leis gan an ceann sin a hógan ta bheith si de rá a hanú las mó a raig leat ag leistig tógan cinenne éni brú níos fearr.
Well, mí ar chuig mún an sannach an fel bútear neis agus seachún frihún sínis tá duine bháin anad a sús sné Bradley ach nílinn pass céad fáin géad an son agus Ard Hostington son here, not the best Sean O'Deavy and son.
Yeah, sinné agus rí sinné an cuiblinn tain an aige héan crotha an son agus búteig an cosantóir an uair sin.
Dara ó Brílinis. Mar sin Big John Cleary agus chrú dearing ar a dheimhlína sásta go leor le cuasaí tréistóibh bheith a bharagí súit an son lua sa tarna ceharúsa. Grimley. Trastagadi Thompson. Agus a ríist, cúige mún a feirde an irseo go géir. Dara Cashman and son. Ian Maguire a caithfh gan zíomhrí troch hain. Tá sé siúd leis takaisteach cén raibh sé anim na ar a glár se chuinis Bradley agus an chéadúna chur a chothaige. Dakar doling lecle se versa. Ard score.
On the score agus rilan puntáiste mar an bhaig Barry Tiernan and son. Der darmh Mark Bradley gimmer gohún tuch a crave cúige tírón agus le feiscint an son agus sean scoil sé planan na Malachy O'Rourke den bblion se chuin.
Is mór a dearing atá a gceann Malachy O'Rourke go láthir na huaire.
Ceart a gut brian. Tá sé air a so cosú le hain so fuile cam aige.
Díalart. Count san bist núsaige cúige Ollinson. Tóca go deasaige Daniel Guinness. Ach tá prúcha má díantan sa agus sin an obair sa trí an lá
Cúige méidir in Ishbrian, yeah. Níor thug sé an cad her neis, Cúige méidir. agus cinenne le déanamh an son an ducha siad las mud an limistéir an stua nuail siad chun é hógan tá stig.
Nean rah chaéis han de slach an gaan tapig agus gandout an son níor go mar agus go múint an fel.
So ha sé tactamach so seo anna hampla inis níor thugad an cadar náis. Chéige méidir isteach tá Cillian taréis an cinenne hógan té hógan tamach las mud an limistéir. Téan rud atá déanta darúteigh Barry an son an fóm ach ligamí dá tá an stú ann chun an rud a bharcáil téisce le.
Nis cean búteteach go deasige agus tá an trasná plantan son.
Yeah, sin mar derm sin anna hampla an cean sin munuil tú sás an cadúirtar náis go tapig beag an Pinot sound agus an cinenne le tógant ag an duine tá ag tógant an kick séir díreach marí an Cillian an son agus an gáfuoin time sé aige. So chuir sé deire leis an pláicíoach sin brion mar há sé ró chostasach ar ian.
Sin an planach go háirithe.
An tú anna sin a ciúil.
Nis Diarmuid Baker. Bhí siúráilta bhfuil coiteálathe pleanáil hena hénig.
Mar gan ag fáú leis a ríis.
Chun cín ar chara ó brílansa fé láthir. Steach láir slíon san a sin ó níl. Rian inis. Glúiseach na hapagan sa Berto chuige múna text lachan i chéile seansan sa ar chúla feic second ach Daniel Guinness a tógant an faointe.
Yeah, an immert hí Lewis sa bhogad sin ó cúigála an tús agus Rian O'Neill go mór chun tosaigh agus an son críochna ag Daniel Guinness ag an nara.
Nar sin búte fadig Josh Ryan lecha nús ag Maguire. Cean san na prebe do glúin ó sin O'Neill.
Tá duine séir chun tosaigh Ardáí ógáin an son ní actar é.
Ní léonúirs féinspéireach go le bhd níos mó spáise le bar Darren McCurry agus ruairma ach tá sé breatansáige Jimmy Fian. Ní sé magéan chéanna ar hecht lasmód an stú an sa. Níl ige Bradley tá cást le díanana bhí siúd le painistíocht an chúnta an cúla búilte.
Agus rid Darren McCurry go thóga sé féin air sin an son bhríon tuis go raibh sé chun tosaigh bhí sé ná an rid trasna an gort agus bheith ar fáil istigh.
Cúpla patún live seála inis seo imreoirí de chuid chuige mún an son Maras Shanley take isteach chomma.
Sin scoil siad tréachta mar há luas sa clethe agus bhíad nachmór ag lethám.
An nathró sé an tréála bhí a dhéanamh go fórna an luas agus an siar ré.
Cinnte déine sé brion begartha cuioine bhar sin agus de réir mar hen sé agus tólam go méid fórna in ann agus sásta an cad a bhúla raig níos tapúla agus níos lú ratha dhéanamh tuiscúil an clethe có tapig son.
Well fear na híre an son Sean Walsh deis an gúil ten cheann fiscaigin tran hóna colm Callan leis take isteach ach tá rudí níos chorra mé is agus beag John Cleary réúnta sást an scór le hama an sa chéad a faointe díag go gé cúige ola héan na sé i gé cúige mún.
Seat le hána himúil an son tá James Horan atá mar cuid an coiste agus freisin mar cuid a cool fanéil connachtling and so James, I suppose you were able to see it from both sides in terms of say being a selector with the team and also being in with the rules committee. How did you feel that the rules that you drew up on paper worked in that first game?
The first game I think was very interesting. I think Connacht obviously pulled away very much in the first quarter. They got a couple of 2 pointers and obviously got their goal and attacked the kick out very, very well. They pushed up a lot and Stephen Gluckson obviously struggled with it. So from that point of view it was very good. I thought the shape was good at the 3v3 and I thought the kickouts, the pressure on the kickouts was very good, and that gave the game good shape and space for players to play into. Obviously Connacht were very, very strong and pulled away, so as a competition it petered out a little bit. But the second game now it's very, very interesting to see. It's a closer affair and we're starting to see players try some things. We just saw there Killian Spillane, you know, there was a 50-metre penalty where they had a free and it was brought into the 30-metre line, but he correctly took it out outside the 40-metre arc where he's allowed to do that, and he got a 2-point score as a result of it. We're seeing Niall Morgan as well coming in from an attacking point of view in supporting the play. We saw him getting Munster dropped off him and let him take a shot from outside the 40-metre arc, and he got a 2-point score. So that's saying that teams will need to push up more if they want to try and stop that thing from happening. So there's a lot of things that players are starting to probe and try, which is very interesting.
And ask you a final one. Tomorrow you'll be in the final, obviously. Will you talk tonight about things that you will tweak yourselves? Do you think you'll play yourselves a little bit differently tomorrow?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot that'll be looked at as an FRC committee. We're up there and we're meeting straight after these games today, and we're meeting after the games tomorrow to see where things are, what worked, what didn't. Was there something that happened that we didn't expect to happen or whatever? And we'll tease those around and see where we are. But certainly looking forward to the games tomorrow as well, and a good strong final tomorrow.
Go raga James. Right, Mahu. Cancelor. So Shane Marshin. Kerry Chulín Dega Kuiga Ola and a Shashin Degulina Kuiga Moon. Kerry Chulín on the foreign big unleashed Tracy Bishop. Fáilte Rash, so two smart ag Kuiga Ola, ach an cool sin ag Sean Welsh, the Kuiga Moon, Anna Hocht, the Ganida Harrington Rash. So Kerry Chulín Dega and I get de, and a Shay Clara ag Kuiga Moon. Caculor, so Fechmead Bader a rank as the Mirna V going on Gedla, Agus Roland Coolboy, Mark, Niall Morgan, Anna Lorna, in Achata, and the Kuigola.
Sha, when they're a lay made in real head and Kieder, if we meet you, good Jurek or Niall Morgan, Agus Chunner, a Vess, Ega, Erna Clay, Maraka, much and Shaw, Chine ain't the do on her fad, Agus Tag and Shake and Wall, Aaron Teeve, Kinyal Dal, Actor a Wogan and Leroy Strasnam, Pissipeki Suez and Shaw. Tashi Agoni Giri Ve Aaron Lehrage, Tashi Trasna and Lina, Elarna Parka, a killing go with Cadaga and Pass Isle, August Leshan Dorn more larger, Tashi Non and Pass a Horch, August Crohinche Jess Scorla, the Ola, Tashi Janta if we go, Ega and Marhardinche, Shine Chak Tontosi, and San Lahela, August Cadaga Pass Island Shin, Arkarker and Dorn Arish, and Pass Livas larger Toka, August Takua Britain Square, there Henry and Shaw Gol Hontosi, go score Eska Galore, Daro Boyle. Ach Nia Wine Shin, nor a Hian to Sheer or Niall Morgan, go Harry had even Wade and Stewart Shaw, Arker and Crinya Shaw, Sucker and Shehe in Shees, August la kick Intak Jirok Har and Thras and Shaw, Shin Chunner her Ata, Ag Niall Morgan, August Hashi Gullave Fekalak, Mahagan, the Relic and US Jack,
yeah, but Shin Niall Morgan are have a wand and fork, and our job Ella Egg and Coolbora, Shin and kick him off.
Yeah, well, Branner and Lewis are winning the show, so kick him off, he was to the go second, pass a one, Condul Keen. Tá tríú glúiseach do Haven score I'm sure nor a touchy tration pass occur. Shin and Lewis of winning less on steel new show Haven kick him up. Tommy Fosa Capic will foul him again if Branner got in a talk him up. Ni Higgum came for August Lew aiming to shut the truck. So knock fun at the Nagan TV shit. He've heard the Niall Morgan. Page will to come Brishall team for Lorna Parker. Octashe Suller Keg will and Cool Boyer Dull Nice Fridger let you kick him up. But to Fosa on Ruddy Eyebrow Haven kick him up all him up. August and Lewis of course Jocks a glúiseach.
Yeah, hook my roll new at the James Horan and son Gurbe round or la Connacht de Niha, Ak Luig Shay and Rudja and Ruddy and Killian Spillane and Shamark. Shot Clishta, August Anna Leru Ernarilla.
Anna Clishta, August the Shin Faki again, La Blinta and Lewis, College Janta, Baya Kiema, Glockin, Rudig, and August Trua Harter and Leroy, Anish, Jay Harlian, Tashi Bucka Suez, Keg and Mather. Ain't a symbol and corridor and Rachel Agus Kayan Spillane, Tashik Minu door, a Willis got shot to Railgut, Coneska, Glacker, Onlina Fia Mather, no Buggy a Mock, Teven Weed and Stu and Moore, Agus and Shin is few, Gaff, Wincha A, Shin and Canu, a Janta, Killian Spillane, Agus Kick Harvey Credden, a Hogan Gaff, Wincha, the Kuiga Moon, Agus and Clare, in a Omni similar, Mark Wilcha Congrack. Being Kirkla Hart, a Glahama, Neil and Clare Shaw Hart, a Harabi.
Yep, Anna Clare Joatan, so August Renegade and the him Rory attack to Stacker the Realacha, Keracholida, the Forna, Olachan Tossing. Valterash Fanamit Sonord Hardar Get Clare de Downish and Clare Canish Pella or Clare there. Kilmachodan the Croke, August Kula, and son Bemidna Igorkig, the Clare Canish Amona on Hound Day he is, with a Nassar Shelig, August E. Muckilla. Shavel Nada Kadichapan, Ryan Toshi here, Sarah Dave Lena. Ryan, an awful lot of activity on X there about the match, which is hardly surprising. People generally positive about the rules. Where are you at now?
Yeah, you know, I think, listen, tonight everything wasn't going to be perfect, so it was, you know, but I do think that you can see that teams are trying to attack a lot more, they're trying to kick the ball a lot more, and the game is more up and down, you know. It's not as side to side, over and back possession based as maybe what we're used to the last number of years, you know. So definitely think there's a lot of potential in the rules, you know, and I definitely think they can work well.
I heard you talking to Owen McLaughlin there, Mayo's Owen McLaughlin, of course, one of the probably the fastest and fittest men in the country. He was saying that one big complaint that the players would have is the amount of work that the 11 behind the ball have to do. He said he was out on his feet after 20 minutes in the game. They'd love to see rolling subs. Should we have rolling subs?
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. I don't know, should we have rolling subs? I do agree with him in terms of it seems to be the same 11 players that are doing the bulk of the work. If you want to say it's the same 6 players that are staying up every single time, you know. Whether that changes when you get into competitive football, time will tell. I don't know about rolling subs. I think it gets a wee bit messy with rolling subs, so it does, you know. But I do think the level of fitness, it's phenomenal at the minute, but I think it's have to even go through the roof even more, you know. So it's something to look at. I don't know is rolling subs the answer, but I do think it's something they'll need to look at.
The second game is very different from the first game, a lot more competitive. We thought maybe Ulster were starting to make a bit of a mark at the start, but Munster are well in the game.
They are, yeah. Thankfully, as we said, it is a lot more competitive, you know. I think it's needed. The first game, unfortunately, got away from Leinster, so it did, you know. So, as you said, Ulster started very, very strongly, so they did, but Munster have come really, really back into it. I hope we get a really competitive second half, you know. I still think we're lacking a wee bit of contact in the game, you know, as a whole, but hopefully we get that a wee bit more the second half.
And what about the couple of incidents of dissent and the way the ball was walked forward 50 metres in a couple of instances? As a player, how would you adapt to that? Would you be in favour?
It's going to take a lot of getting used to. So it is, you know, what referees interpret as you know, getting on to him or dissent, you know, will have to be found out a lot more. So it will. Listen, referees deserve the same respect that everybody gets. So I think it's very, very punishing, but I think it's a good rule. It'll definitely cancel out a lot of back chat to referees.
Okay, Gramag Ryan, Carcalor Damavalif, Shilano into Ragla Shagora, Tomid an Gora Skilkarachta, Usardigin Hashclib, GAA Bio, August Bemid, the Fechant and the Tachtruk Dishen, Rashkik Brian, August Eamon Ling, Dundarala.
Gramag de Vihil Eamon, Countess the Tachtruk, son Aspa Physicul, the Ger Ryan, Duk Falesh, no.
Is okay, Brian August, is okay, Shin and Mivantash, Leshnik, Hishin, August, is token Megan, Physicul, Cart, Le Feshkint. Gudi an Shrana Shunta, agus Peter Few and Craven Vlian Chachonak, Daring Gadukashe, agus Marlan and equivalenty Hain and Iga Hain own beg, you know, beg and Physicul the Feshkint.
Kahini and now Sidran, you don't suck, and out of Hit or against the Hemilori shot. The session of Vine is done in Trainal against the Kuigi. Achtashit Force, Fallen, the Care, the Dolatahi, and Hursinsa, agus. More on Murdoch, Mihamachkadin, Devlina.
Yeah, we're all good to go, yeah. All good to go, yeah. Just in behind, lads, in behind. 45, in behind. Yeah.
Gachene sheer last year, the Lina Kuig Veder, Stahat, Martian, Ach, Mavert. Woetchen Keenson, Agus, Nidolum, Gudisha, and Tano, and the Gravian Halish, last year, the Hook second again.
Nira Vesok, Agus, Shin Countess is broken, but Simul, Nilene, Girik, Breher, and Kadak, and Irid, Brian Hashid, Gusad, and Durn. Sig Brew Cadarai Gudi and Lina Latosig and Tomer Fad.
Agus gan out Bish and the Ras Martan Khadilla Kuig Veder Stad on Gulach. Simul Kunzmara Raharoi Kursi. Can't see no get Dara O Buil the Heinig, Shacht the Vier Gudisha. Johnson Butch Stachenson again. Oshino Neligus. Well, Gula Das the Kappas Heinig is Tishker Vul, Macquarie and Fell Vuig. Tashi took a Hunginish.
Shane, Kaigamader, Vian in Kixair, Brunta. Hogshain shot agus Imaharaig agus Cadagimachtinish.
Kugame, there's a fresh against the meaning, agus gonna in Wheeler, Council Boot, is Jachard, agus Tashe Gaffa Hauling, and Sahstig, again Aaron Griffin. Ebrah last Mudden Sto and Sonica.
Skillina Kikala, Dearmid O'Connor, Lefeshkin, Gumur, Tranona, Brian Enor, Einche, and Cad, Sutri and Lar, Hashagiri, Eithor, Keen.
Nish, Dermot Ryan. Katjamachan Saga, Paul Walsh. Council Nether near the score, no Kadashin, near Ifshan Son on Sood, again Killian Splan. Niall Morgan, need on Gadahanik and Chang of Oilish.
Either Grev, Ryan McHugh, a kind Shigla Home, Bagon in Physiculacht and Son.
Nish búte go dasige Baker chun tosagan san Mark Bradley. Búte go maithige. Ní hen fear sír de mothe ach tá sésta fiúil gar amachige Maguire. Nish tasbruk chun tosig Chris O'Jones agus Bertel in na haunta. Trúr nútsaí agus trúr a cosint. Tút féin na chéile córic. Nish úmpa tóg agus an count san a bhfuil I titim Harris a dras nán.
Yeah, and the score agus is stoka nor a harnig an ahrú Shelvin son a rísví an crochacha Dulcan King gatapig pasún go Ian Maguire, Chris O'Jones, Bader nor a Brian and Clehead Rera Céile go make Chris O'Jones a gírig an cadjin a vog a Raiga rísh.
And a gháil get Colm O'Callaghan ón Gicamach and son.
Taking too many steps, Tony, all right? Go ahead.
So
You're going over, carry it. Tivo.
They gan on ar bhúlan tú an cad agus gwyl marcan I lár an ngart agat Neil Cadig an gang eile láv a curartar feig caraméidir ach
Bhí lapi gemacht dal an Trussenwish.
Yeah, from here, mate.
Samuel Quinoig Barry Tiernan ar an fóm an uair seo inis.
I'll take him here, sorry.
Yeah, seo hin áit an isis tóca ríis Brian Gino Gamach an duna bhí ag tógant an Kickséir ag gírig an Ilan agus an fad a jausú ní féidir nó an isis. Cai Cillian fnac les mud an lína sin. Rud beag ach rud múr comá.
Marsin an bhart dianta an sonnige Cillian Spillane. Marsin cúigi mún an isis ingenacht chá faointe. Me sé táchtach gomach réitóirí níos go háide sa trá a caint an a bhórleis na himimeóirí. Braham Broughty go méidir gúil an réitóir ábhar ciún in son a bhfuil dul amóram.
Is tóca gohfuil sé, bhí Martin McNally sa céad le anna bhá bhí sé ag labhart an tamar fad agus is tóca go mraithan sé ar stílan réitóra ach ein tíim leat, tá sé go húntaach nuair an réitóra caint leis na himimeóirí míniú gacrad agus cáiríonn an cumarsáid sin.
Nish Marsin, glúisteach días Matty Taylor in a láristig, fachtar nasin saige Paul Walsh. Ní lenors fen spéirach gúil cúige mún a bhad níosa an amúlan sa agus an council get Tammy Walsh a yes mátágs ar fóríl.
Yeah, go tapig amach ag Niall Morgan in ish. Neil cúigálaid lorg an count fada ach tan cadacha in ish ag Oisin O'Neill and son.
Trustan Faravoin had a bit Chris O'Jones had done last year the Niall Morgan. Eric Gicamach. Gonna in score fós sa tríú ceathrú agus na Holtig. Mr. Ross chun tosagan sa Paddy Burns. Siogadi Connaty. Agus fear éidir na dorc a ríist I lehel in na parke.
Siad ag dul an lec le Morgan in ish tigan siad go gaithig siad ag dul ina chuine nuair a hagann sé chun tosig.
Thompson.
Yeah, no problem.
Ní leanús féin spéireach bhfuil na cosantóirí a teachtamach níos a híana mar bheith do gná. Kieran Thompson, Titim Garrett agus an amíoch gró mar a caintear Chris Kelly is seasamh an óid go maithan.
Sin dír cé nuair a hagann an cadisteach mar sin ceann dain séireach ach bhí na tosa heistigh ann. So mar a dúiríis an son Brian táir na cosantóirí brú amach an ish mar tuiscin stú a gá faointe bheith ann. Agus cáiríonn sé sin leis an ómíocht, chuann sé deireadh leis na tréimh sí fada Shelve.
An bhróig chun a bheras an sáige Maguire a chéile ar Chris O'Jones and son. Tóca tappa get Diarmaid Baker.
We'll go next break, sorry.
Lágúireach mátá de friochtaíonnta cinnte Maguire.
Oh, yeah.
An neart áthúirteach an son deacreachtaí agus sin scórt an scáin son ag Ian Maguire.
Anna score agus bhí cumar a greibh sé tréachta nuair a fuair sé an cada cumán sé raig agus deirg leis pointú úntaach a bhainteach. So an a díag tacta seach a ríisiir agus an clog stoppa.
Well, yellow.
Marsin na bolta seo Ross McQuillan ó chuileach Anachanson an áard bhacha takeach an Parkish Né Maguire. A fuair an puinte Dernachson agus ní leann an is a chéin faointe bháin. Níl annach chud scór ná bhiscin de gin ach tá na muocht a bhadí sa bhar ná mar a bhí sa chéad chuir.
Tá. Agus, mar a dúras ó cíanamh just gnách le cadé tá ann agus golóir ó míocht ann agus golóir sushi sa ngart.
Sin Council díre ar Rian O'Neill, Colm O'Callaghan a dulling lech le siúd.
Smooth. Oh.
1 second, lads.
So tá Cadaka and
Yeah, okay,
Pratt
there's a
Kush
different
agus
outcome
amach
now,
the
what's
Hogant Lashtig the
Hold on, 1
Caramader.
second, 1 second. Time stop. Yeah, time off there. Lads, okay, yeah? Just hold on, lads. Just back there. Just back to him for a sec, all right? Is it okay, lads, to go? Okay, Grant, okay. Sorry, lads, go ahead now, okay? Time back on, Killian.
Se chuigemún mar sin chuin bouta a bháin eile. Cilíonn Spillane súr agus an taistú Shelvenis mar sin tá ábharspáisian tá Darren McCurry súr an éon líne Murdoch agus lasmud a súd Rian O'Neill an sa. Ní raibh an pass úntach. Should the find it Erhul agus tá seansan tá ige Oisín O'Neill an chiad scór across the triú ceathrú.
Yeah, agus is soca rísfi and you know an éagsúlach stíle gur féad leat immert dúsfi an cumar an scéal go méidí siad gírig an cadacursteach go tapig go dtíon lína lán ta sac ach rihidir an cad agus dairg loi a churtríd na láva agus an scór bhaintach rion go dtí Oisín thar an trasán.
Right, McCure agur of éile van a bhór a dhéanamh éimiróí maid le haclaíochtach an freigra agat tar sin éama ná.
An cadamh gur aig is se an rud is firist ó héh an ratha sin a leidú is socha bhrion.
Sinné hastóch chuin ar fadastócha. Mark Bradley an a bhrídúil ar fad ó tháinig sé isteach agus an countan leis búirtisteach go hálan ar fad tá sin na núiseach réist.
Yeah, an a bhrásach agus ag glenúns leis an sais immert a bhí arsúlaige craibh tíróin le déanaí. Prad leis an dasóg agus thar an trasán leis an citóg an ias.
Mar sin le bealaigh tríd an tríú ceathrú an sa. Countan snitte go deas cho fada le Ian Maguire ag Chris Kelly. Chrisella óg Jones an Bautasa. Na corcaí gur fatach luiseach te Colm O'Callaghan chun tín an sa. Agus seoltaisteach a Lars Líons an Maris Shanley leisach luisteach nes mar sin amach leis an ghíria. Well, bhí sé géisteach leat an féile déanamh na hebre ach den inse cochtíá.
Sin an aib bheh sé deanach sé sin bút ag Rian O'Neill an son. So siad ag déanana bheithrú eile an son.
Substitutions, all right? Yeah, I know. You're two subs coming in, all right?
Bíon daoine gurán na gcónaí féin beilleach ní heasta choin an áil marg na dhiiscint teanta stigin na chúl an chléir fad.
Yeah, 30's coming off.
Barry McBennett ó bhuiineáin take isteach.
No, agus ní bheith sé tánta is féidir leis le héadí sin íanamh tactamach an cadág an áilt agus a bhócant an son beidh sé ní hásta leis an kick ach téan rud atá imethe uig a bhrion is se an pass arás chuige na lehéin a muilíon an cléthe agus a churn leis an shelf gan stad is socha sin an rud is mó atá imethe uig gach rud eile há sé fósán.
Tommy Walsh, Sheeran sa. Colm O'Callaghan. Maguire a dul a drone Chliáin. Agus tá an gleice techt láidech ar an stúad 10 méadar. Mar sin obair bhainsa ag Paul Walsh. Spillane inis. Inge bháinistigh an chúil.
Yeah, fós níl siad a gard ach an cad tappa go ggóhan ag féchan isteach bhí Chris Óg Jones séir a stig an son ach tha siad leanúnt leis na seananós na hóibh an cad achúir sáil.
Cos céim anna as leataíh an son féóga Diarmuid O'Connor bheadh sé seo ar aus mar féinte dhéiste agus ar fóraíl mátá.
Morgan amach anna happy go ríis leis na kickin amach.
Mar sin gan éon strain in éair i bre ar chuige ola agus an kick amach sin búte ag Padraig Faulkner.
Gúil chuid den luas im a hán le henis brion is socha gúil chuidas na himróí fáil tréachta.
Agus túr fréisteachtas na himróí gan dát.
Gan dát.
Amachchan sa.
Sin grúpa anna háchtach agus is socha sin ceantas na sprucanna tágain go muinnig na himróí tanna bhasan lethe sú síos na tír a ríis.
On éon arabh taine bheith buinte chas. Bí McCant.
Ní dólam go raibh brion chuna bheith McCanta. Cuideáil gan dát an tanna bhí sé ag buint leis an nóíocht an cuivalent an sprid a bheith mar chudéir an rodí a bhóchant ach ó héh an immert. Ní dólam go raibh an tanmh céanna na hiile. Ní dólam goil himróí chun é sin ará go hoscailteach imróí vísa caintló díanatá cóteáil fórna banistóí bhí siad ará you know, Gamakan to knock will and Tan of Kian at Buntish and Clehef in Lahar Nahura.
On a mule. Diarmid O'Connor, Chuirse Ceann Ó Mún níor a bhhaid Stachan Sagri, Chris Jones, Bob Bourte a Gossantón, a fight on Chool, ach Ordober go Jones, son get Owen McAvoy.
Yeah, Shinner Rouse on Nehimrory or Fad, Grev, Chris Jones a Gierig and Bod, Ventumac, Anna Chossanto, Owen McAvoy. Agus rí seo an immer tain and I gehéan and so Brian.
In there if you want to do that, yeah, go ahead.
She go home to Kishin Eshkent.
Just hold the kick there,
Tágadéanaigh
Niall, okay?
ábharspáiste
Just
go
aim
leis
for the
féimiú
two
ach
subs. Bring him on
faidan
there now,
flaáil
James,
go
yeah. Time stop.
McAvoy son counts na himróide óg is fearr sa tír fearchuide.
So Chris Kelly tagad and kicked out the coup against
Yeah,
agus
14's on his
Deishige
way over there now.
Hogan Tarash go the point to one and Barna Laidu go point to one.
15 yellow.
Wheel Vognish mar go bhfuil Pat Havern
15 yellow.
Tuck
He's up
ahead.
the far end of the field there.
Chin Parke.
Yeah, he's up the far end there. Give him a shout there. Yeah, he sees you. He's on the way.
Darren McCurry rinne is an daine
Yeah,
atá
come on back
fágant.
there, Niall, and we'll get her going now in a sec.
Ach fear Érógan son is Chris Kelly.
Okay. Perfect. Time back on.
Clog curtha sa túl a ríist, cead an umad goine fáca inis sa tríú ceharú, ardtha go deasige tá sé hénig sásta le sin
Wide drop.
ach fóríl.
For real, yeah. Post 3 Colleen the VAR now.
Cén leh tá cosúdar a chóirsaí neadar. Dí mar a caiintear bhaine stóri agus é imiróideach gan dát an slúg san locht féchanna. Har éon drámáile beis sé túda nó le Harra agus be cadé cogur mógur agus churas cúte bhanisna téhetáirna nachtaí man agus coist na dínte.
Big. Agus Bunishi Tanavas.
Fair é sin mar scór an cúile búilte ábharín beag colatach an son an tá dearag le cúige mún stoling be Nandra be Paul Welch bhí an déir hir nó beidir Mark Stokes.
It's Matty Taylor on Coma agus is so an rod leis sin a ríis an íirecht the gáfuint agus a crothú achran agus ainas is slig mail an cool Coma.
Trúiriste gan is go cúige mún. Seoltach an cín Chris Jones, well, a hiúl hénig a thugamacha. Tá chóirigh an súicín nach éman bhí an Hansen sa sin ó níle túirt fé faointe.
Ríis isteach, yeah. Bhí Niall Grimley ann nach mór freib sé os a chóir amach agus an son KV Tuckshire and son
Mark Stokes a bhí an son.
Mark Stokes, yeah.
Yeah. Nis mar sin catá fáca dúireach febhaint sí neomad agus tá rútharmach an tosaigh an sa déanta ge Barnes ach ní facas an rúthar se chuin níos sé mátá. Díreach gafa leistigh den stúan sa Niall Grimley peinte fachtaige ach tá meach sé begáí sa héamach bhíon dáfainte.
Sinna just díreach leistigh pointe green cosúla sin ceann a bhór sé dro Derek Raven here in Leona. So Morgan ag fnacht amach don kick amach ma Brian agus Ríis is féad leis sé sin dhéanamh a bhemer an duine sa bhreis agus a chur brú ar an déhheile díreach mar a tá déanta cúigálan sa.
Cán má búirteige Owen McAvoy lár na park agus tá sé fósach lúiseach is dechan sa seantar chúlan sa a blokáta go díal dúirna go meachtar dalan son Ras McQuillan na stáilim an feargraf an seantaige. Láireach cúige mún ar nún saí. Fachtan sanis ag Sean Walsh. Fer a chúil, tóca sé faointe, más féidir sí anmh.
Yeah.
Bin chance.
Yeah, bin chance agus oberúntaach so an déhheile bhí an chance to báden so agus annachchosint an son ag fern cúige mún anna bhlach ag Sean Meehan an son agus an son bhí an frihún sí tapig agus is tóca sin an sais immert a hastíú an Eshkent.
He got him up high, okay? You got him up high, okay? Sorry. Yeah, time off there, sorry, Killian.
So
that was not an elbow, fuck it. You got him around the neck.
Well, our last game is nach ní fláú gur chur can Kilpatrick ar deg de le.
Ríis stoppen siad an clog chun éon carta bui. Dí Maguire an son agus bhí sé láidir rá nach raibh éine le ná Níl can Kilpatrick rá hásach an irid.
Around the shoulder, neck area, okay?
Yeah, ceann áard dáir sin le teoir.
65 there.
bhí sé ag dul den cad is socha greibh sé beagán in ardar Isaac ní dul an greibh sé ol.
Stocha na thacaí Kilpatrick Maguire nechar ach níach Maguire nut céanna bhéidir. Nes chun mar hagain chéir faointe idir na fórne dír chus ciún 60 second le dul. Cúigeola tacaí na meitheag sa tarna leisio don garú an ceann san na púltaisteach an son ige Barry McBennett ceanile fóríl.
Tá Cúigeola ag tachtaríis agus
Má bhíonn tuirse teachtarí maróirí a bhaid na heimsre stocha buntáisteach gur sé íchalar ón na panéil láidre bheitcha agus úsáid.
Sin bíar cé brian agus Péidir i gahabh na sreatha nu a gahabh an créomh maitha sé anna heléir goil níos móna an Cúigear nu an Cheshire ag tastáil Péidir go méid an rud dhéanamh ar nós a cos san cléithead náisiúnta leis an Astráil agus go mín daoine mallar tú an tamar fad.
Con Kilpatrick Trastansa chofad le Padraig Faulkner. But you get Bradley Arist. And the Yacker Dulling Lectish agus tíreachas sin right to come and out. Mallar tú Shelley Vegas a chun Sean March.
Morgan ag Rishi Arist hí sé tréis tap an tosig an sun brian.
A Romer se Bellige. Sean March give it on a vaca an sa. Chun tosig di Mara Shanley agus smutten mia chuige moon and son gur chuigan banan.
Bhí agus is tócha leis an begar thosúla commander an clog go hátha den cúpla den nóma dearnach chuna chur núl dá chéile go bhfuil deire an lethaid tacht agus go gaithid siad an seat ógant.
Well, John Clearer álim níos túisce go raibh sé snú go mór le bheith barca Croke agus ar a dóibhlína ganéin róhrú agus be sé réúnta sásta tá siad chéad faointeach an déir go láthar nóide náidir seachtaí go ggé cúige ola héanana nu i ggé cúige mún.
Tá Colm Collins atá Augusta freisin take an leirling here van der Stoor on Clár. Colm, I suppose at this stage you probably have a fair sense of how these games are going. Are the rules working the way you wanted them to?
I suppose this is only a glimpse really of what's going to happen. I think there's where you're going to get coaches working on these rules and preparing for a match, give them time to prepare. I can see already there are certain things happening here that you know that if coaches had time to prepare, they might be a bit different. But it's lovely to see. I think what I'm enjoying this evening is there's way more foot passing, ball going in a forward direction from a foot pass, which is a big difference from the ball going backwards from a foot pass. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. I love the contest, the throw-in. There has been no foul at any of the throw-ins in the game so far. I hope I'm not tempting fate now for the next start. But so that overall happy, but the test will obviously come when there's National League points at stake.
So I presume as a committee you meet tomorrow or whenever after the finals have taken place, and will you review what you've seen today? Like, will what she proposed to Ard Corla maybe be slightly different to what she had in mind coming in today?
100%. If there's anything that's sticking out after we review the videos of tonight's matches, we'll be prepared to go back and tweak them, no problem.
And in terms of, say, bring us through the process then, because I'd say a lot of people at home would be interested in see, you've mentioned the National League, but there's a good bit to go between now and getting them through to the National League.
The big day is the end of November for where they go to a special Congress, and to get them through, that's the important thing. I mean, these are, at the moment, these are just suggestions, but that's going to be the big day, and if we can get them through then. And then, but one of the great things about the committee is that in a normal situation, you would be asked to recommend to changes in rules, but you wouldn't get a chance to correct your mistakes, where we can. So that this committee is going on for another 12 months. So that we'll be, if we find that something isn't working, we would be big enough to say, yeah, we'll change that.
And a final one, you know how the GAA works. You're going to need 60% plus to get any of these changes through. Not, conservatism in the GAA is something that has been there over the years. Will you get over that line?
Well, hopefully we will. I think there's a massive appetite for change. I think that the ground is fertile, it's ripe for change, and hopefully we'll get them through.
Okay, Garmaga Colm. Rashquick Brave.
Sha Colm Collins in Gashkin Sun le Kuntel Clark and Nurivisha Marvanish door or agus John Cleary and three blin in she Marvanish door Horkig a vi guma sa Crave on the rig Especially the Sula Faus. Dal here is toch Eamon.
Gandaus Brian, yeah, big Kiri Xula Fiaus and Lian Chachuan. Nihe Gorev Kiri Ko Father Shinamach on Rodem Liana via on Breshek Tasal to Ardvaka and Na Shin Ak Dearhin Gmeg Fiaus Le Feshkint and Lian Chachuan agus Big Sheed Gumorson and Miak Tarish.
Shata mir fad het snoelish na play straha douche Gandout. Agus an son on chréibh díreach an iawig sin, mar sin an Caharú. Agus cuidan slua, me he bhaile caiime rá, ach Gandout enge chenig ticéad don í nacht. Seasa siad son don lá máirich choma. Agus tá Barry Tiernan díreach cintúnis, gwyl go chéanrod ina gart.
Time on, Killian.
Cúpla duine ná fyrir last year don lína cúg beidir a stad, a mér for Eric Gaunsa. Cartiga Eamon, an curchuige céannig an Niall Grimley. Mitchin ráit tá siad ar an núnsaí láthreach. Kieran McGeary ar a bar chomá se chúine ír felladóir na bliana. Owen McElhone. Se atbheith géisteach le himróí tuairt slúine ar a chéile béir na bechanna céanna chuir a chéile.
Sinne Niall Grimley fear Ardvacha gléach ar fear Tyrone and son.
Se seo Mark Jordan ón láb dearag go gúnta eintrama. Agus Gandout beg lecht na himra aránú a gifse sa bhaile an cód an son an QR cód nú téir ar híomh ifigiúil chum an nú clascail chun de bhóta a chahabh an son.
So fón bán an son a ríis. Agus a ríis seo na hampla inis de kicking is éir a bheith tóca a bhad leistigh den áscraibh an calís déanta, so you know, it's kick carte agus it's mahan rod sin is stolumsa rod beag you know, Caroshe.
Sin fear híróin, Kieran McGeary, Council tugisteach a gechfuil sé gafa trast an chúil. Níl tá an brat ágárdach a stig an a scórbais.
Kick queen. Ríis tá Niall Morgan amach an agus tá sé tógant fócas pás an son agus gur brúbéidir Josh Ryan ach ceama. Sé gírig risír in ismartá an trúr an tosig.
Mark on kick amach búirte ggé Sean Walsh an son. Agus is cadamh chanis Mark chun tosig go bhuachtan do bharc kick amach.
Tá, yeah. Tá chun díreach an rud sin a bhela an son a Harlan son is tóca.
Ríist Peter Pagani beag leistigh don stú agus Jerry Smith a chaf son an áde san éir. Matty Taylor an son hir a cosint de chúige mún ó Sin O'Neill. Sian tugadí Con Kilpatrick, Grimley, mar sin trúr fáca thuas agus trúr fáca hir. Sa ggé chúige mún agus óla fé seach.
Ní léine stige cahanis Brian sin an rud is dóla a chuig fór na fiaus ar sin idir seo agus tús na stratha.
Tá an cumar seo ar an gluthe tágann fé láthir.
Yeah, tá Sin O'Neill geachtasteach inis agus túir sé crot níos fearr den rud agus crothó sé spás an son. The kick nu den tastig.
And kick Grimley agus count the kick na híthe. Again, Niall Grimley gá feinte.
Sin docrete, yeah. Gomúr las mod den limimisteir bhí sé las mod den lína da a cúig fiú anna kick on Niall Grimley an son scóúntaach.
No, ní an kick sin úntaach an son. Sin díirech fé van de gáinú a díag le dul an sa. Prisio búte gé Maguire. Agus súnteach díag se ná de láthreach tá bertastig. Chris O'G Jones ar chuine cá. Agus búte go díala get tá Markinson. Ha sé tuairt fé chóil. Chnic sé Morgan take dá líne.
Yeah, bhí sé go húntaach bhí Morgan ag iarraigh immert mar scúbadór ach nuair chunach Chris O'G Jones agus dhéan sé iarachta chur Harris agus a rís just ag cur leis an sin síocht agus ag tríal trodí mar sin sé deas éiscint.
Se batún díon de gom dúrgraf Mark a gech ní raibh se leistigh den lína 5 méidir so lean sé air. Dámeach sé gafirstigige sarthaige Morgan bheit í streis teachtar neis.
Sin díraché.
Nis tá Firebeag san immert a ríist. Cos céim das leta Evenson agus í ardaisteach ge Pat Havern Sílan sa a gúil báireach déanta go maithe san ag Josh Ryan. Agus den géadú a nacht. Cúil báireach chuig mún an nún sí.
Leis dimmer sé mar lán te sakta limna chenne so bra compórta go muffin gort comma.
Canna go le man hóca le Sean Walsh. Fear na híre an sa Tranhóna. Trasna ríist. Cuihín Walsh. Fear chail Rossanta. Stechan san nach ag garamach a chaithúlacht go Baker. Aidan Clark tak isteach chomma. Agus Denny om het Cledol. Shaki in de frontí. I dyrn na fórne. Beidir go meach sé a takeín buinte go meach cúla le a tastáilte a chuig mún an san na géirínis.
Go on.
Clegg chrúig an san agus saoil Sean Meehan. Beidir go bhfuair sé agus mut an áile sin.
Nothing.
Ní tóir ráile a leanú an deartha agus paiste costa dolisteach ísisiúil an san ag Padraig Faulkner. Net ben Conor O'Creen iwwer a dó an son Chris Kelly víle bheith in Janzi a dóch. Tá tréf si tu a chúla ge siúd. Nis chudich sé seo chluthe an tairigh a gcuoine chuit. Ga chaí tóiste gan Puin Lewis le cuasaí. Aaron Griffin ríist san Everton san nach tá seansan sa géará le scór ag cúig mún agus fachta ag Aaron Griffin.
Yeah, Tainrod like is soca bhí sé caintear clean táirigh an sunbrian an Tainrod ná go bhfuil níos mó spásán ar nach bhfuil ach héindí go gine héindí tá níos mó héana aige héana an comá agus go bhfuil deiseacha le héadí héana dó dhéanamh mar dhéanaidir an son agus an scór a bhaint amach. Tógad sé ann beidir ar na himróirí dul dahí ar sin go bhfuil níos mó spásán agus go bhfuil sin níos fusa na seansanna sin a bhaint amach.
Se rud a bháine se fechant ar riala chanú feusa ar fárach seisiún féineála a bháine bhígus na fórna seo.
Sin dír yeah. Agus fiúháin díirhan faoi tróna mark sean ceann chuige méidir tucha sé amach ar ríis stocha, but faoin cléthe tróna mark beag rudí tar le ar ríis agus beag rudí fálamithe na himróirí agus beag feoscar ar rudí margan ar an slí chun é hógant an bhfuil. Ná uaireanta beidir ní dhéanann sé cíal an cic a hógant. Togan déanann sé cíal an puinte hógant an anna é hógant les mudan ceann agus sin na thar bunachán sa.
Then, I suppose the centre after the free was given though. Okay, I had the hand up, so that's why it's brought forward, all right?
So rís de clabreacht an son a bhríon ach déanann sé cíal uaireanta mar thairsúla Havern an sa. An kick a hógant an puinte hógant agus gan é hógant les mudan den limistéir gáfuinte ríis.
An Kelson Schultz isteach aige.
Mar ag féchant ar an scór atá acu, tuis go bhfuil siad chun tosaigh agus nach bhfuil siad ag dul ar tóir an cléthe, just cur leis an scoreboard a ríis is tócha.
Se, fágan san seachcín de féintí atartha. Na clí idir chuige éman ar gasliad a dhiiscin tarnáis.
Siad mar seo bheith sé go hún tuí éis international socha bhíon solam gúil na himróirí baint anna hena bhas a bheith ag gimmert lena céile agus le daine eile óna gúige héin.
Camélar ar a dóibh líne, tá daine os go chéin chúnta nach mór, bhid sanna ge brú go macánta lena chéilenis.
Stocha gúil, chur an ceis sin ar thuhéin ag an nera brian.
Nis nómad fáca goibh chuisteach ar leich na himar an san idir an dálín cúigala agus an cúile búirte a réist an sannacha. Trefan na caide búirt an son ag Cuihín Walsh. Dúireach fehhann seachneomtanis ag cúige mún. Gan nód beag na cúigi ar fadar naisin sa Tranhóna Márach. Agus tugann sé deisiletas na himiróirí dola dahí ach seachún Walsh a réist. Tá é leistigh dúireach las mud an stúa íirecht visnúlinn son ach ní dhéanamh san an bheart.
Yeah, no, she's on getting it there. He's on getting it.
Sin Niall Morgan. Feide cétha timpeall agus a rééis sin Paston Scoranson chofad le Diarmaid Baker.
Kick amach dochreite.
Oisín O'Neill. Búirt isteach an son. Johnson took amach agus Cousin Vanson is sticking at Sean Meehan.
Yeah, big na tosa ag aharú na ratha bheith ar siúlacha comá brian beg si dul níos mó trasna an gortig luragan cad las mudan duine inuna díreach amach mar a bhí ag Pat Havern an sonnach. Rís just tóg siise nám agus sesiún trénálinn in na céile cléhí agus mar sin de ach dréir a céile agus dígar ní tucha sé.
Nis obair bhaige Baker Rís gar seach an pass live ige Diarmuid O'Connor an son. Agus tá Bertanis hús go féile a díú wartha. Seo duinecha Pat Havern agus tá sé tuairt bheith féintach tá san mé lé agus ar fóríl. Fach fyr is Josh Ryan. Rís tóca tappacha. Agus Cuigamún Edanún Sa Aaron Griffin istig a lár slí agus Chris O'G Jones a chuirsáile dhéanamh agus fachtan soine sige Owen Cleary. Maguire Ruher Mahansa agus Baron Oscailte Matty Taylor agus tá deise chúlan sa ge Maguire os cordal chúlan ábháil agus tá sé chora sin tas ná ar deiri hir bhí sé ceartach cúlachailt.
The Ann Emerton son agus Rís Lewis and Emmert, Winter Corkig, Takul and Céile, Matty Taylor and Sonny and Maguire, Anna Haval o Maguire or O'Morgan agus Diarmuid O'Connor ag Tachtan son agus just cui sé Harrison Trasna Ann Emerton son.
Agus Rís just toch an soort spáis ná becha good tradiisiúnta gluthe críomhach go háirithe. Agus imróí go maith inúil heachta dír sin.
Anna bha.
Nis sin ceann tappaigh tócan son ag Barry McBennett. Búil agus innig snéonn se agus tá deisean son is ceann son ag Owen McElhone.
Yeah, ní raibhann críoch ag McElhone an son ach an cúis go bhfuil an solo agus samachtan sin an fá díreach an son slí Ian McBennett é séimethe agus doscail sé sús barna agus bhí deisiúnta go fiú an bád a bhaintach beidir.
Rís an ceann an áir ag Sean Walsh, féchan chun cín seachas clíhánach. Diarmuid O'Connor, Stachní Maguire, Berta Vegan ar chéile ag an séhíú mar sin dearfama O'Connor agus chuir sin ceann dearnach Harrison Trasna an ceann san fé.
Sin bád úntaach agus Rís hána sé ar lús lasrach a héana agus Maguire ag cáúla na céile anna cheannachar ag Maguire a Diarmuid O'Connor ag Imirtana bha sé go húntaach a gcónaí chun seasamh leis stig mar sin díreach mar a dhéan sé créachúntaach agus gandát luach an ceara cúlín míidir eisní le gá cúlín an inis cic amach táchtach.
Sé díreach agus tá gá tríneomh a bheag nó bhór le dalan sa agus cúigáil leis né Diarmuid O'Connor leis an Goulson. Gura an álar in the Yowig. Caite Sheeran sa Pat Havern.
Stocha an slíhan clog an ish caithigh Cuigamún brú amach agus dul tóir an cadan sovereign ní lis go bhfuil an fuineh tá cumasáis tréocht arthú ach is féidir le Cuigála an caide cumad in ish agus an clog a bheilt ach caithigh siad brú amach ní lis go bhfuil an Trorig tactisteach an taobhlín in í féadlá sí siar háisiid chun deirg. Tá siad ará inis le brú amach tá fáil seancí ar an taobhlín an son ará le brú amach.
Morgan agus well Cuigamún agus loch leat a Cuigamún má siad atá fuirig ní siad rá nadidir bead súd nó cétá a fuirig ach tá dromaigh nach náfuil róthasta se chuin na géirí. Fefon gáneomata inis ar a glog agus sin a bheith i gceist. Fachtan so ag Niall Morgan agus tá sé siúldrawnathe ag a locht fiachna mar lecht na himra ach idir an dáling seansan sa ar bháid ag Mark Jordan tóga sé an pointe seeking inishan.
Trí cín ach fós tá seansig Cuigamún inis ceithre faointe de báda so tá únsaí acu tá nómat agus 22 second acu caithigh siad a bheith ag fearra ar an clog an son inis agus íireach de báda bhainteach.
Se Niall Morgan lecht na himra Alliance an sod fan hóna. Tíimid inis. Well, Poitún an son a hef Cuis céim ag a críbhí match.
Sin caige méidir inis.
agus sin beidir.
Sin, so Arish is so Kisha os Gunen and Shekina or Gunen and Shekil Dullestach agus and Kicksera Hogan kun a hintu go in Barn and Nisno.
Niall Toner Marsin and Sarah Churig Chéad Feinte during the four na Eshin Dienta agus Arish an Fewsu Shaw the and Fedut Nashka Marags Gamunche.
Shine Kashe Uige. So she the Mac the topic in ish that Fekuig second the cock and board went to Mac.
Count order Stecha Howlofa. Shine Kurchai give Fehe second in ish.
So slew on.
Stecha Larsley. Rollo Sean Mal Stech live. Hook Shin click. Count order short the Stecha Mila Khul Morgan attack the Wachel and Nordis the Fracha. Agus Anna Gawali get left him Raymond.
Shouldn't be okay. Yeah, Anava. Akarish Visha Goon took on size and excitement Chinesh can take there and Tehe Gorevshi the courage that Gorevo Miach down August Lech Nehemmer Durish Nile Morgan Anna Grime or father and son. Akvi Dinegan Okui Gamoon and Paul Walsh Stege Gierig and Kurlish and Kachin Ak Tehe Tanavak and son August Hanikui Gamoon Arash Goma draw and Dera Rish.
Anna hain of a camera Kieran Donlinson Bannistor Armanach agus John Cleary agus ta Cogger Mugger Shula Kasut Kina Neil Choma Kina agus Binen Hied Tastal agus is in the hinder Patoy Givin and Tastal gone out against the Himidori Erna Real Hano Maradurt Rodawana Shahave Erfa Perigot Rodella Shah the Ervir agus Maravald and Gishte Brahim would and go to Sasta Galore.
No, Hamsasta Brian, yeah, Hamsasta agus Stoka Maraduris Okina and Rodas Mona. It's Lehana Durhe, Nihe Gulimidgiri Gakra da Haru, Fos Lehakada town, Tamidigiri Fiausaker, Rodi Masfedlin and Neaker, Agus the rare Marhin, Himrori, Agus Nebanistori, Dahir Rodi, Estolum Good Tukik Fiaus Few, Nismona Shiner, Bicleha Tanov account Tranona, Agus Sulugum. Tranona Mark make Shemarikela le Tahi Fuan Nismo Ignihimrori Fuin Drawson.
Shaks Kimid Ken made Faulma at Argentigas the Himidordi, Tranona Mark Killian's Milan and Son for shoot couple score Das, the Ling Hemmer and Son, Achvi and Kinky and Tatsukanai to get Kuika Ola, O Hosachansa, Agus the Howligan Da Hula for Kuiga Moon Loha, Tachtarnash, Chefchi, Exula, the Ling Hemmer and Son, Ach. Tasha Burtiga Kuigal, Beshatan Sala Canish Mark. 3 feet is fair Kasud. Rochulagazan Fenty Diak Kuiga Moon.
Shags Ligan Shahara Davelina, Niall Morgan, Leach Nehemmerha, Allianz and Shotranona. Niall, first of all, did you enjoy the game and what did you make of the new rules?
What am I supposed to say? Look, it wasn't bad. We seen from the game earlier on how it can get a little bit frantic, I suppose, and a little bit manic in our game too, as seems to be the word that we're using at the minute is manic, and players are going to have to learn very quickly if this is what's going to come in, because by the seems of it, they're going in no matter what, so we're just going to have to get used to it.
And from the goalkeeper's role, I mean, it is very different, and I suppose there was a lot of extra things that you had to consider today. So how did you find getting your mind into those new rules?
Yeah, well, I suppose last week in the in-house game, players were able to run the ball into the square to me, and that sort of gave us a 2v1 in the back line. They changed that during the week, so it's just a case of that now I have to get up the pitch, and goalkeepers are going to have to be a lot fitter. We're going to have to get our high-speed meters up. We'll be with the strength and conditioning coaches this year instead of with the goalkeeping coaches, I would say. But look, the game did have to change. There's no doubt about it. We had to make it a little bit more exciting. I think Rory said it during the week, it was getting a bit boring. They were going back to the keeper too much, and this is just going to add a little bit to it, and as players we are just going to have to get used to it, and that's the way it is.
There are a lot of changes, and a lot of changes will go toward Corla, and from there the expectation to Special Congress in November. Would you like to see everything that was trialled get through?
I suppose the one rule that it didn't really hamper tonight because the wind died down, but the kick out cross in the 40-metre arc like last week, we played into a gale force wind. It was so difficult to get it out, and it turned into just a hoofing match. And you don't want it to become a game where the skill level drops. You want it to be the game where the skill level goes up. So that would probably be the main rule that I would be looking at reconsidering. And then I've seen today that if you get a black card or a red card, you can still match up the numbers in defence. So it's not really much of an advantage to the other team. You know, so it's that there's probably one of the things that I would be looking at reconsidering. You know, so is a red card going to really hamper you, or is it maybe an advantage at times for you to take one?
I suppose the final one is just about the Railway Cup. It was back for the first time in 8 years, I think, today. The idea of playing with your colleagues from around the counties in Ulster, is it something you welcomed? And maybe, who knows, would you like to see Railway Cups brought back?
Look, personally, I love it. Like getting to play with players that you play against. It's the same as international rules. Like I love getting to represent Ulster, getting to represent our county, and we don't get to do it too often. I suppose the big issue comes, and I know Tom sort of spoke about it this week, is we're asking the provincial councils to take away the pre-season competitions, and then we're putting this in at a different time. So I suppose we need to look at how we best fit it in. Is it for players that maybe have been out of club action for a while? Like my club were beaten 6-7 weeks ago, so I'm more than happy to get a game of football. So maybe it's something that we could squeeze in for players just to get them a bit of football at this time of the year. But I love it. I love getting to represent Ulster. It means a lot to me, and it was great to get in the pitch with some of the boys that you usually play against.
Thanks, Niall, for your interview, and well done, and good luck in the final tomorrow. Niall Morgan, Leach na Himmerha, agus Davy Bradfield of Runnan and Gratham, Chulbora, Huiga Niall Morgan.
Shani Lenners a go mún Niall Morgan tainna bheas ach go háirithe, agus go háirithe chuma a bheith gimmert le himimeóirí ó chúnta Ellen, dá bheith himimeóirí an son. Ach se mar a bhí goin mar sin an fel caite náir agus na holt agus fearr a thocrach síos chun na bhíorníintint Morgan na techan cían san agus seo ón tarna caró fu sé gá féinte sa méidin háne cúl cecolóir Sean Walsh a dulchan cían is dólim an son ar dúis agus críochna go deasan son a gisiúd. Ach nuair a chuireach na ceisne ar chuige ola bhí na freagraí cá sampleile den rial nó an son nar ligachtá an count tapig a hógann tucachan cín coig go méidir ag Barry Tiernan agus bátaí na himimeóirí cinenne dul lasmó don stó ar bhaile leis an dá féinte Díomar deo canra techan cín agus cúil anna bhrá neadaige stálim a gá féinte atara ag an nám agus bhí chiadacín atara nuair a chur Sean Walsh an countáisteach ar thóir cúil a chána mách cuasaí a thuúrach go cican na éircising dálann scéal dameach sé takeithe a chánig an fersa idir ré agus an cúil. Agus náidir fé tríle dó a héanaí an son tarachar scórálathe go háirthe cúige ola ach mar dearan beag na chéad a chúige a ríist ar a farc nimire tránhána máireach.
Se Luman Sahar a Daidlína tá banisteúr chuigála Kieran Donnelly. Kieran, your own assessment of the game and how it flowed?
Yeah, look, I felt it was competitive, you know, and that's the thing with the 4 points for the goal. Once Munster got that goal, it was game on again. But look, I felt at times we managed the ball well. We probably forced shots, sometimes too manic in our play. There's a lot of high-speed running in it. If you're getting turned over, you tend to be doing a lot of dogging back and forward. I felt there was a period of the game we probably didn't manage the ball well enough in that first quarter, but after that, the score, I think 22 points was good scoring, so we can only be pleased with that.
Yeah, 23, I think, in the final analysis. It was a game that was quite open, and I felt that while it was more competitive than the first game, there was still plenty of room for players to operate in, which is surely what the reason that they're bringing in these rules is.
Yeah, that's key. There's no doubt. When turnovers are on, you have the kick straight away. So I suppose at times previous years, you're forced to run the ball all the time. That shape of the three up does make a difference. So traction's important. I suppose the key to the traction then is that you stay connected, and that's probably you grew up with playing with that. But with the kicks on, you need the next man thinking of the next pass. So I thought we had some good scores at that where we did link our play well, and we had some excellent finishes. But I thought a standing performance by Niall, that was something that it just allowed us to manage the game at the end with that 12v11. So there's a massive plus in that.
Yeah, he's like a 16th man out there, isn't he? I mean, and he understands the game so well, and he's brave, I suppose, going forward. And we saw the superb point he got in the first half.
Yeah, look, he definitely has that in his locker. But and there's one phase of the game where you actually probably can manage possession, and because the game is so fast, your time to control the ball as much as you want to attack hard and go hard and get kick lines. There's the time to take the pace out of it, and I think Niall allows us to do that.
So you've sort of a few hours now to assess, I suppose, and go back into the hotel and maybe look back at the video and discuss the thing with your own panel. What were the things, even when you were talking on the sideline, were you figuring things out as you were going along?
Yeah, look, we're very conscious of the load on the players, you know. I think that was the big thing. Even the last quarter, you weren't allowed to make substitutions unless somebody was injured, so we were trying to get 3 or 4 players in at the end of the quarter, so there was a lot of managing throughout the game. That was the one thing, because you're conscious just of 2 games in 2 days. That was ticking over through your head a lot, but yet knowing you had to win the game at the same time. So the recovery is going to be massive. It is tough now because the speed of the game. To come out tomorrow and probably replicate that will be tough on the players, but I was happy with the way the bench performed when they come on. That was a big plus for us.
And I suppose we should point out the 4 quarters is purely for tonight. I mean, if these come in for the National League, we'll be back to normal 35-minute halves. But for this kind of time of year, and you're talking about the load on players, it's crucial, isn't it, to use and rotate your panel as much as possible?
Yeah, you're spot on. Look, that's something I think probably they were going to review after the first 3 National League games, that maybe rolling subs will have to be an option because of the high octane level of it. So no, the 4 quarters is ideal, and more so it's ideal at this stage of the year. It's ideal in the fact that we're playing a game tomorrow.
Okay, best of luck in that, Kieran. Good
morning. Thank you.
Se imteachtaí mór a cuasaí níomháin de imireoiríochta bhainisteoirí mar a chéintsih ón méid bhí arán sonnige. Agus gan dáta lá mór eile amár déadánig, cíl mo chud na Croke agus cóla a gluthe canis pelle clé canis gáhéad an son. Agus an son ina dhéic sin I gorcha craibh amán a chorcaí co-op superstores na sár séalaigh agus íma chuile a túirdaigh i chéile an son.
John Cleary, Bannister, na Moonling and Shaw. I presume disappointed, I suppose, not to get over the line having played so well with what could be considered a weakened side, bearing in mind that a lot of the Kerry lads weren't available. How do you feel the team did overall?
Yeah, absolutely. We told them beforehand, just take it quarter by quarter, and I think that's what they did, and they left it all out there. We got the goals, and someone said we're only 2 points down with a couple of minutes to go, and we had to look up at the scoreboard and recalculate again, and that's all we were. And our lads fought, and it was a very open game, but I think it's a forwards game now going forward if these rules come in fairness, and there seems to be plenty of space, and even the backs were saying there it's a back's nightmare, and I think there was a lot more pace to the game. There was a lot of guys able to kick scores without 3 and 4 guys on them, and I think that's a positive as well, and I think it'll be, if these rules are adopted, I think it'll be very positive for scoring, and I think things will only improve if we adapt these rules,
And would you be a fan of it being better for the forwards and harder for the backs going forward then?
Well, I think it would, because in fairness there was none of us too happy with, and where you could put 15 inside your own 45, and even there the only bit of slow play, the crowd were booing in the end because they got used to the ball up and down the field, and I think something had to happen, because I don't think it was good to coach, it wasn't good to play in, and wasn't certainly good to watch for entertainment, and I think the public were voting with their feet in a lot of cases, and the attendance were down because the entertainment wasn't there, and I think, look, if you had the likes of that and way more scores, and even if you conceded, you knew that you had a great chance of getting up the field very quickly again to get another score on the other side, and I think it's a bit like hurling in that, and there's a lot more chaos, and I think that can only improve the game.
And I suppose when it comes to it, Anord Corla recommend whatever they'll recommend now to Special Congress in November. Would you be recommending to the members of the Cork County Board who'll be there to vote through proposals to change the game for the better?
I think I would, definitely, and I suppose all these rules will come on their own, and I suppose and maybe the 50-metre penalty can be very, very harsh, but you saw there tonight, fellas weren't doing it in the end, and I think they'll get used to it, and once it's the same for both sides, and as I said, there's a lot more scores, and I think that's only a good thing for the game, and I think it'll improve defending as well, because guys will have to be good defenders now, come up the field, ball in, you got to mark your player now, you got to get goal side them, you can't let them in, and I think we had some great defending there tonight on both sides as well, and I think that will improve it as well, and I think the art of kicking will definitely improve, because the guys were coming out and even talking during the week, a lot of guys say get the ball just fisted sideways, backwards. Now there's space there, and we got to look up, kick it in, and they said we haven't practiced kicking for a long time, so I think that's an art that will definitely come back and improve the game.
Good morning, Jenny.
All right, no problem.
Sean John Cleary and the Araf Fad agus an nulli Cleary agus Mehanna Cronin and son a mascon slua tulle and leash menig nikkemer son tacht in Yegna Vogrisa.
Walter Ash, so tá Berta an chuige alla take an Larting Niall Grimley agus Rian O'Neill. Niall, first of all, how do you find that overall?
I suppose the immediate reaction is tiring. Obviously, as you can see there, it's up and down and you need to be fit. Suppose the position that I sort of play in the middle, you're sort of defending, tackling, and suppose the boys that just touched on it there, there's not a whole pile of contact and stuff, so it's more just up and down, and if you can get on the end of a score or an assist, but my immediate reaction is very tough and very challenging, especially after playing a full 60.
Yeah, did you have more space out there? Was there more room to operate?
Yeah, I think there was, but then obviously when we were attacking and stuff, there was a lot of, suppose in the first half, there was a lot of balls sort of kicked astray because we were trying to force it and stuff, but obviously when we were getting sort of a 2-pointer and stuff, like Niall Morgan got a 2-pointer in the first half, teams are pressing out and then that leaves a wee gap in behind. So again, I know a 2-pointer is massive, but if you can get a 1-pointer and keep clipping 1-pointers after 1-pointers after 1-pointers, they soon add up. So no, it was definitely a tough game, but good run out.
Yeah, good run out. And Rian, from the forwards perspective, how did you find it? Because a lot of talk has been made about the three inside all the time and that'll create more space. Was that the way it went?
Yeah, I suppose there was more space inside, and people were looking for the kick. I suppose people were looking for the kick a lot and maybe not executing. Maybe it's a case of walking it further up the field to get that shorter 30, 40 yard dink pass in instead of trying to launch it half the field. But it's going to take work on, you know what I mean? And it's a case of whether we want more scores in the game or more contact, because there was minimal contact coming through the middle third there, whereas usually you'd be hounded in the ball coming through there. So it's just finding a balance between both, I suppose.
Which would you prefer, the more scores or the more contact?
I like a bit of both. It's hard to beat a bit of contact too, try to lay down a bit of a marker. But listen, the rules are what they are, and if they're coming in, then everyone's going to have to adapt. But who knows what's going on? Like, there are only trial games here at the minute.
Yeah, will that not happen anyway? I suppose as the games get more important in the new year, if these rules are applied, is it not more natural that there'll be less space to operate in and there'll be bigger hits and that physicality will be brought back in by comparison with what was an early, pre-season competition almost, you could call it, this evening?
Yeah, I suppose not every game's going to be played in Croke Park either. There's going to be the league games around the country. It's going to be tighter, more enclosed, bad conditions. It's not going to allow for the pace of a game that's played in Croke Park, and that'll obviously slow the game down coming through the middle, and it'll just be interesting to see what way to work,
Niall, I suppose, by comparison with the team that won the All-Ireland and the way that you won the All-Ireland, where Armagh would often defend together and then attack together and move up and down the field like that, would it mean that there'll be a lot of changes in terms of how you might apply yourselves in matches if these rules are in place?
Yeah, I think it'll suit different personnel. There's boys probably excel there tonight that mightn't excel so much in the normal game or the game previous that we played 3 months ago. So suppose everyone was sort of just getting used to the old game, and now we've sort of got a change here. Yeah, look, like I said, some of the rules are exciting, but some of them I would be questionable about. But look, I'm delighted to be here representing, obviously, Ulster and Croke Park. It's a massive achievement for myself, my family and friends and my county teammates beside me. So look, if they come in, we'll have to deal with it, and we'll have to give it our best shot and accept them.
And were the players consulted enough about these changes? Because I know there was a discussion and an opportunity for people to fill out questionnaires and all this kind of stuff. I'm not sure that there was a massive amount of feedback came from the players, but say from yourselves, for example, did you add anything to it, or are you saying, look, let the administrators get on with it?
Not really from my point of view. I was sort of focused on county football, and then it moved in the club, and I didn't really know until we met up last week and we were talking through the different rules, and there's even other stuff where you have to hand back the ball to your opponent or something, and it's moved up 50 yards that people mightn't really know about yet either. So there's a lot of smaller things too that maybe aren't included in the big 7 changes as such. So it's going to take a lot of getting used to if the whole do come in. It's a completely different game, and the only thing would be there's clubs around the country and in counties struggling to get referees, you know what I mean? And how's one referee going to manage 3 people being kept in one half? That's a tough enough job as it is without trying to manage that,
Yeah, I suppose it will be a big challenge for clubs when it goes back to the club system, which it will also in the new year. I suppose, Niall, the issue around discipline, talking back to the referees, it is something that has been a problem for many, many years. I mean, this is surely a way to get around that.
Yeah, like obviously it's similar enough to the AFL in Australia, but look, personally, I do think it's a good thing if there's mouthing or dissent or if there's delay in the play. You know, it's a good thing that the ball is moved fast, and obviously you can see tonight there are some stages the ball was just kicked and then bang, it was a score. There might have been a kick out, then it was kicked and then it was a score, so it was a score within 2 or 3 seconds. But I would be in favour of the discipline aspect to it, because obviously the punishment is so severe, so you can't afford to be shouting or giving bad manners to the referee, and hopefully that'll cut it out in the game, like as you can see in AFL and rugby and stuff.
Okay, and I suppose a final one, Rian, to yourself, and we let you go then. But you know, so now you know you'll have tomorrow, and then the assessment period, and then rules possibly changing. Like, so what would you say if you were sort of talking to Jim Gavin and his team about, as a player in the modern game, All-Ireland winners yourselves, what would you like to say to him in terms of the new rules, whether they should come in, whether they should be tweaked or whatever? This is your chance.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell. I'm not in the position to tell them men what to do, but I think maybe if 3 or 4 come in without a whole load of changes, you know what I mean. I think there is 3 or 4 that are good, you know, and will speed the game up and make it a better spectacle, because there is some games, you know, that are hard to watch. No one's denying that, and from players we just want to win, you know. But when you sit back and watch other games, maybe there is games that are hard to watch. But 7 new rules is a big thing in Gaelic football. It's a whole new game essentially, you know what I mean. But you can see where they're coming from and trying to make it that better spectacle. So we just have to sit back and see what happens, you know.
Do you want to say anything on that, Niall?
No, I'm happy with Rian's answer there. Good answer.
Okay, good answer. All right, fair play to you both, and thanks for coming out and talking to us here this afternoon.
Thank you.
And best of luck in the final.
Cheers.
Okay. Caculor, Marcin, Gurmagov Galer, Agus Shin scored Dernock Marcin. Náir de fehe 3 le dó a haindiag, so Shin né cúlín deag an áras in aig a fehe 3. So all 3 chun immer tonight cuig a chonacht amórach in san gluthe canis. Agus bec gluthe eile gan áras comá idir cuig a mún agus cuig a lion le deise le bhuirtas na himróí. Caculor, Marcin, so feic mí tíir reintas na bóg faoin tí, mada lena bhaineann siad leis na rialacha agus an trúr contosig trúr siarmark, bhí sé sin siléir an seo in san dara cluthe freisin. An pointí an éimen dó nach raibh imróí a gimmer gara galore don cúl, bhí sé sin siléir comá nach raibh?
Seo, sin só heige am thuramsa mar táid clachtaí heile seo le blianta fada teach amach, agus cinenne le gimmert mar gach imróir tíomhhéir den líthráid agus an sin gach den ar chontáí ar an líthráid. So tá sé cos le gach eile, tucha sé le clachtú, tucha sé le níos mó uanta mar seo, so feicimiid an seo in san graphic trúr chontáí, ach tá sé cos le náhfuil sí clachtaí eile seo, ach má hagan na rialacha isteach beorthú bheith clachtú a ríthin gehrí agus réad an treitheag toisicht in san bblion uair, ach a rís eile croithinn sé spás níl deidir bí faoi, tháinig muid go leor de lehéid de Mark Bradley, Hontosi and Tom Galéir, agus Owen McAhome nuair Jimmer sé, Chris Og nuair Jimmer sé le Ruan Foster. So na tosaí as far as the cheer, is dóilm híon gur rud maithe go bhfuil siad le feiceáil in san cuid is daintrí den farc, agus bhí mé caint le cuman faoi seo fásta. S na sean lenta na cibhlantí idir le meiste smíte siar heag má oige agus leis a Peter Canavan na go gobar gob le Kieran McKeever, Tony Scullion in iad Matty McGleanan. So is bralin cibhlantí mar sin ecail agus leis an réal seo físim go bheiceimiid beidir níos móna sin.
Just there a buinte sin dó coman, so tá trúristig, but adul siag dí na léanta go bhfuil marca caint fuha. Bhí sé in aig sé. Like, bhfuil an puinte cart sriste ag an goiste gur trúr in aig trúr a seanrod cart.
Yeah, Stoke go bhfuil sé chur cruthar rasir an bork nach ran le fada Stoke or a callan tú an lero trídum gachtain is séir Stoke so current shape beagán in de cruthan a miltu an an Cheshire a fanach chun cín ní dólam go bhfuil mar catú smín agus luúna lads é an sin an obair bhfuil an na imróí eile dhéanamh chun teach siar chun cúnamh a thuirt don trúr bhfuil fágatíh hir. Tá siad ag dul ó tro go tro eile go hana tapi agus tá sé sin anna dhechar, so má fágan tú seisiirtíh hir den léród ní léon ahrú tá tú a chur buil ar daoine agus a chuiríd faoi cos go Stoke. An bailach go bhfuil siad á olahú tá tú a cruthú spás agus crut ar an park go bhfuil imróí an daile leis seachas brúród ag an orthú nach maiisiad an gur a bhaim ach an fáib a lena le sin ná an obair bhfuil ar na lads a dhéanamh agus mána bhfuil tú a gahrú an trúra bhfuil a fannach tíbhiste tá 5 aga timp Lorna Park áte bhfuil mórcuid den léad le feiscint.
Okay, well I suppose an rud a thug sin ná síirse de imróí dollar thór cúil agus mar bhí cúil a going agus bhí lu ceire cúlín ga cúil gan áras so den an cúil annaí a fríocht sa chluise seo.
Jean Kinche agus nuair acan tú cinine an crota le bhfuil imróí gimmert agus an lína a bhfuil sin an a bhreisiú crohinn sé deis na cúil so sin an cúil a daim sé iad nó sé lua in san cluthe.
In san céad le gan áras habi de fechan seo.
Seo muid a rístan san céad cluthe agus dí halahúd an Sky an rud a simile fa sin nach rú an ré ag go aráise an cúlbeire. Bhí ar teach amach leis an líthráid agus an brú chutha air agus an sin in san darna cluthe cé an dhearna Niall Morgan aníireacht chun sin a hábhailt thuaigh sé isteach ach a rís tá spás le fecail a nacht nach mííon le fecail de grá agus sin rud mai agus go háirithe mar luí tú Micheál le ceire foiinte de chuúil bé siad ag ddíriú isteach ar na línsi a bhrisú ar spás a aimimsú agus an bidre híana dó úsít níos minice?
Yeah, tá mí chun fécinn ar reintas na scóir na gáfuointe comá mar bhí siad seo thar bheith luach for comá agus coman agus sin leart faoi seo mar níla néad san cainte agus am fága going bhhalam go dosá chuir de chuid smuointe agus mar le chuid smuointe le chéile faoi anhfuil targa a going inis anhfuil míid san áid ceart an bhfuil na rialacha seo réig le doráig agus mar de ach ar dúspáire seoid na rialacha a mad leis an gáfuointe coman.
Yeah, agus is tócar leir mar faoi seo an bailach bhfuil siad a gúsáid an léir a dul siar chun an scór an gáchúlín sin a aimimsú is tóca cé go bhfuil siad tíbhiste don arc sin sa cédul séas tá siad ag oibrú an léróid siar chun seansa hort. Is tóca an rud is seasamach dumsa go mór sa dara cluthe faoi stúr Niall Morgan agus tá sé le feiscin na teostóca an bailach bhfuil sé teach san immert croithe sé an 5 don mún tuis go bhfuil sé go mar fellador so tá sé brás giló agus abí teachsús na park agus scór aimimsú I gomráid le na cúlbairí a bhí le feiscin don bhún níor tháinig siad sús na park do bhhair sin bhí ola an cosan na gur a bhaim is tóca an seo léiríonn siad an rial nua seo faoin Pinós 50 méadar agus mar a dúirt Pá Grimley an sin ein téimne sin fecinn tú ag gací fudas na tíir a bhfuil daine caint a reis leis an réiteir ag gur aragant lena cinno chur stop lei sin agus bugarrá agus just lean leis an cluthe.
Okay, tar mé seansa a chud smuointe chuir le chéile ach mar cuasa ar dúis an mallat an méide chunig tú a nacht an rialacha iad a multha don áard cóirla agus den cógáil speisialta?
Se tá me se níos dearfaí in dhéana chluí ná mar a bhí mé rih agus bhí mé dóchasach a go leisteach na chluí ach cin mé beidir go chuid mhór athraí a deanta ach ón dachluthe feiceag an cénach bhú an céad chun omíoch go leor Tá dulchan cin deanta an rud is fearr beidir ná ghfuil siad a goráis mar coiste agus ag plé a rís go dé a dibrí agus go dé ná ribrí ach tá botún deanta ag an cuman agus cíile a thuúramsa agus sé sin go nearna siad dearmad ar na réo commórtais don bhbliain uair. Híl me sé híon go méid sé furafa tríala bhaintseas tú tá meis ag smaintí ar corn bhicini mar campla ag go gáú go jocail an arc an na rialacha nua ag commórtas daíire. agus an sin go méid sé ré le goleisteach leis na cin nua don sreich mar atá an ciadúr go bheicimiidí daíire na in san sreich náisiúnta.
An chéad den trachamórta sinna go dtír coman do chud cuioine.
Yeah, ein téim go mór le sin is tóca bhí ahrú ag tastal agus bhí se le feiscint an sin má táid an anrudí a play písa tá fios taréis tá ar an cléthe. Céinte níl gacrú a gaibrú i gceart a cadú smína freisin bhfuil néimráí gimmert faoi stúr umlan difriú le 5-6 mlíana nuas agus an nucht bhí siad a géirí 7 a nua tríal tíh muid a gacrú deile ach nuair a trein tú sér agus éistin tú le Desi Dolan agus Pádraig Joyce is cléthe pelle bhíán ag dear an lei cadú cosan cadú scór aimimsú cadú obair go crua agus do réir mór bharúil is iad na tróir a bhfuil a thuirt ag an stúr sin just chun rudí a play beag an níos tapúla ná mar a bhí go dtí seo.
Alright, go mágah Berta agus éman gan áras táthú staire láthir na thura as an obergaléiríonn sibling an so tránóna inniuh. Sinné agus Ryan gan áras a bhí híos ar a déhlín na lin chumá gavan tránóna. Sinné mar sin, so siad chuige chonacht a bheith le chuige alla in san gluthe canne sem mórach, beg chluthe eile chumá idir an dá chuig eile, an dá chluthe sin le feiscint ar RTE má hasíonú fechantar anú gan áras is féad leh tachtan soch an fechantar. Bhí ar bheith simú tá ábhar anna bhás dóla meid furin Jim Gavin agus Reishi the Rai. Ki meet na shiverísh I garkick agus an laclia de downig de chluí canne an chante. Gudí sin, Iwa.